Welcome back to another UCL Fantasy deadline stream, this time at a Matchday 11 with unlimited transfers. We are approaching the round of 16, familiar territory, and none of these knockout playoff rounds that we just had, which was a completely new experience. I'll be answering all your questions so you're well prepared for Matchday 11 and beyond. I've got the wildcard in my back pocket and all of my videos covered, everything you need to know in terms of injury updates, suspensions, and much more. We got even more updates on the Monday and Tuesday, and that will all be addressed in this video as well. Like the video if you enjoy it, subscribe to the channel, and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single upload or live stream for both FPL and UCL Fantasy. There is more headed your way this week with a best wildcard team for Game Week 28 and also my team selection, another deadline stream on Saturday. And if you want to see a reaction stream for FPL, then let me know in the live chat and also the comment section for those watching on the playback. But let's get straight into your comments, and a great way to start off is with Bestie, who has become a differential once again. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. You can gain early access to my videos amongst many other perks, and the same goes for anybody else watching. There's also my Patreon where you can also achieve the same thing. Easy99 says still not made UCL transfers yet. I think it's always best to wait until the lineups, because in that sort of scenario you could maybe take a punt on Rodgers or Asensio. I think Rodgers is more nailed on anyway, but I always recommend waiting until the early lineups at least, and then you can make an informed decision. We also get so many updates across all the press conferences, which can be very insightful with your final teams. Since there's 16 teams left in UCL, maybe I do something special, pick one player each club, only one team be left from my team. Well, if you've got the wild card or something like that, it could work, but even though you've got 3 transfers for the second leg and then 5 transfers for matchday 13, I wouldn't recommend that unless you just want to have fun with it. Sindra says, hey Dylan, sorry can't stay in the stream, got a major exam tomorrow. All the best, hopefully it goes well. Anyway, good luck with the stream and your team. Catch up with you during the FPL deadline stream. Yeah, not long until that, and hopefully by that stage you will have done very well. And of course we won't know your results yet, but all the best with your exam. Zodiac says, hey Dylan, always good to see you. Inter defender starter, Denzel Dumfries should start, but of course with DeMarco, and I covered this injury towards the end of my team selection video, he is out for the next couple of weeks, but there's a lot of different kind of rumours and players returning and players injured that I need to talk about with Inter Milan because they have so many problems at the moment. But I would expect De Vrij to start, I think Pavard as well, and I'll also cover the predicted lineups according to UEFA.com and also other things we see on the internet. And usually Sky Sports Italia put a Inter Milan predicted lineup, which basically ends up being the exact same thing when it comes to kickoff. Welcome FPL Onions, good to see you, and same with Baraf. Say my rank will be alright. Well, ultimately you want the rank to be alright, not some idiot like me reassuring you, but I think you can do well. If you watch my videos and, of course, you tune in for this deadline stream, I think you're in a great position to tackle the round of 16 and beyond with a very strong foundation. Geo Boy says, any Inter players? Donor, Feyenoord have 12 injuries. Yes, Feyenoord are decimated by problems at the moment. I was checking different websites and it appeared that some of them might have returned from injury, but it seems like that's not the case, and I'll be covering that very soon. Why is nobody talking about Timber to cover Arsenal defence? I just think Gabriel is a better option with ball recoveries and attacking potential, and also with the return of Ben White. I think with Timber, I would not be surprised if in the coming weeks he's going to start to rotate a bit with Ben White. And let's not forget, Timber had that ACL injury last season, and he's been an absolute machine in this campaign because he's played 90 minutes so often and he needs a break. So I think eventually, either in the Premier League or Champions League, I think Jurrien Timber will get a rest, and he deserves it. He's been really good for Arsenal. So let's get to the other questions, and very shortly I'll be showing you different graphics, some of the things I talked about in yesterday's video, and also showing you the entire bracket so you've got a clear idea of potential matchups in the quarterfinals and semi-finals, not to mention all these updates we're getting on X/Twitter. So there's a lot in store for you, and I'll still be answering all your questions, of course, but just be patient and everything will be answered. Hello Dylan, I hope you're doing well. Thank you to Flox93, the same goes to you. I think of captaining Asensio. You can definitely do that because I always say this, on the Tuesday you are afforded a liberty of going a bit differential with your captain, and if it doesn't work out, you've got the likes of Rafinha, Lewandowski, Salah tomorrow, maybe Dembele if you're favouring Paris Saint-Germain, so I don't really mind that so much, but I would only captain Asensio if he starts. We are going to get the lineup for Club Brugge versus Aston Villa. That will also be covered in today's stream. Yeah, Adeyemi should start. The actual doubt would be Gittins, by the way. He hasn't started the last couple of games, but there is one predicted lineup I've seen with both Adeyemi and Gittins in the starting 11. Yet Sommer has travelled to face Feyenoord. Exactly, that's why I'm a bit nervous about Joseph Martinez, and it could be the Carnesecchi Rui Patricio situation all over again from matchday 9. So I am open to changing my second goalkeeper. Right now, I am considering Szczesny. I'm not expecting Barcelona to keep a clean sheet against Benfica, but I think long-term that could be a nice acquisition. He's also very cheap, and with Benfica missing some key players like Di Maria and Florentino Luis, I think Barcelona could really take control of the tie. Hello Dylan, I hope you're doing well. Likewise to Polyglot Singer, and thank you to everyone who's wishing me well as well. Tony Breeze says, hi Dylan, just joined. Are you playing a wildcard or free it this week? You can't play a chip because you have unlimited transfers. But in matchday 12 for the second leg, you can play the limitless or wildcard, that is for sure. My plan is to wildcard in matchday 13 or 15. So the first leg of the quarterfinals or semi-finals, depending on how my team looks by then because of suspensions, injuries, and other factors. Kelly Morton says, any suggestions for a midfielder who plays today? Have Adeyemi and then Rafinha, Wirtz and Salah for tomorrow. I'd possibly point you towards Asensio or Rodgers. And if Asensio starts, I might lean towards him. He's got 4 goals in the last 3 matches with 2 braces against Chelsea and Cardiff. So that might be my kind of differential punt. But let's not forget Club Brugge beat Aston Villa 1-0 earlier this season. And I think the Belgian side could get a win here, at least in the first leg. Asensio is having a statement loan. Yes, he's doing really well. It just makes me more frustrated with my club not doing any business in January. Because even if it's not a long-term solution, players like Asensio can come in, do a job until the end of the season and give you a chance. Sneaky Alice says, Marino or Rodgers? I'd go for Rodgers. Or even Trossard. Yeah, but Marino playing as a striker, he's not a striker, you know. He did very well against Leicester off the bench, and I celebrated his goals like a madman. But Arsenal look toothless. They haven't scored in the last 2 games against Forest and West Ham. And also bear in mind the Tuesday-Wednesday balance. If you're on about Wirtz or Dembele, you know, these kind of really attack-minded players who can do so well consistently, then fair enough. But you're talking about Marino, who's a very big punt. Even Trossard right now would be a punt in my opinion. I think PSV could win the first leg, and I'd really just go for a Tuesday play in this case. I think Rodgers or Asensio is a better option. So yeah, for the quarterfinals, you get 5 free transfers for matchday 13, the first leg, and you get free transfers for the second leg. This pattern repeats itself until the end of the season. So for the second leg of the round of 16 in matchday 12, just after this, you get free transfers. So basically think of it as free transfers for the second leg and 5 free transfers for the first leg of each round, which includes the Champions League final. It's all covered in my How to Play UCL Fantasy guide, and not only that, my chip strategy video from earlier this season. FPL Onion says, is it wrong to have no Liverpool, PSG, Real or Atletico players? I don't think there's a right or wrong way of playing UCL Fantasy, but maybe a slight concern here or there because there's no Mbappe or Vinicius in your setup, no Salah, who's been having the season of his life. PSG are in incredible form, unbeaten since November, late November that is. They've won 10 consecutive games. Dembele has 18 goals in 2025, more than any other player. So when you put it like that, Alvarez getting 7 goals in the last 10 games with 3 assists, you are missing some key players, but you can also get Guirassy, Lewandowski, Rafinha. We are blessed with options, especially in that forward line. Richard Millerchip says, hey Dylan, best strategy if I don't have any chips left? Do I need to hedge my bets and pick players from both sides, example Bayern Munich and Leverkusen, or best teams to load up on one-sided? That's a great question, and it does vary every single season. I do think in this campaign we've got some really tightly contested battles, like the one you mentioned, Leverkusen, Bayern Munich. Also, you look at Barcelona, Benfica, maybe not so much. I think PSG, Liverpool would be another, and then the Madrid derby where Real are favourites, but in terms of form, Atletico are showing much more consistency, only 1 loss in the last 26 matches. I think you should hedge your bets a little bit, but don't go overboard. You don't necessarily need 2 Bayern and then 2 Leverkusen. You can maybe go for 2 of Bayern and then 1 from Leverkusen because you might still have a preference or you might predict a certain team to go through. So I'd follow your guts, but maybe hedge your bets a little bit. And you can't really go wrong with the likes of Wirtz or Grimaldo from Leverkusen, even if you expect them to be eliminated for the quarterfinals. Dylan, thanks for all you do, my bro. Thank you very much. Very kind words, and I hope you do very well for matchday 11. Ivan says, hi Dylan, here is my team. Kobel, Martinez, Trent, Gabriel, Schlotterbeck, De Vrij, Grimaldo, Salah, Wirtz, Yamal, Rafinha, Adeyemi, Guirassy, Vinicius, Lewandowski. I am tempted by Guirassy as my captain. I'm currently on Mbappe, and that could be Vinicius. As I've mentioned all week, that is a 50-50 call. But as a captaincy option on the Tuesday, I would be tempted by a somewhat of a differential. I think Guirassy might be a little bit in terms of the armband, so I'm on board with that. He's also got 5 goals in the last 2 matches. He scored 4 goals against Union Berlin only last week. So I think Guirassy's a great shout. Your squad in particular looks solid, but obviously you're an Inter Milan fan. There are reports that Sommer has travelled to Feyenoord, so that could be a big concern for Martinez, actually. I might even end up selling him just in case, because even if he starts in matchday 11, that might not be the case for the second leg. Before I go back into your questions, and trust me, I am enjoying going through all of them, I'm going to go through some different screens first and hopefully close some tabs, because I've got so much here ready to provide all the latest updates for you. So hopefully you do enjoy it and find it insightful. So before you do anything else, there is a link to my UCL Fantasy League, and the code is cCaFxb. You'll also see it throughout most of the stream in the description and also on the left-hand side of your pantalla, your screen. But next up here is my UCL Fantasy League. So I think number one in our league, should I say, is 12th in the world, actually. So we've got some really high-scoring managers in our league and over 5,000 members. So if you haven't already, consider joining and extend the community, which has been great all season. Also, Predict 6, some of you might be playing this as well. These are my current predictions. Yes, I'm an Arsenal fan and I'm going for a PSV 1-0 win, but maybe I'll change my mind and some bias will kick in. Borussia Dortmund 2, Lille 0, PSV 1, Arsenal 0, Real Madrid 2, Atletico Madrid 1, but I might remove the booster from this because Atletico are in better form. Benfica 2, Barcelona 3, but with Di Maria and Florentino Luis missing out, I think it could be an even bigger win for the Catalans. Bayern Munich 2, Bayer Leverkusen 1, and then PSG 1, Liverpool 2, but some of these predictions could change. Maybe I'll go for a PSG draw or win, at least for the first leg, but ultimately I'm backing Borussia Dortmund, dare I say Arsenal to go through, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Liverpool. I think they will all go through based on how I've set things up, but of course some of these are 50-50. I also put a poll out on my channel, and this is one of my biggest conundrums for Matchday 11, and if you want to see any other polls for captaincy or transfers and stuff like that, let me know in the live chat and I'll see it done. But this is basically picking one midfielder, bearing in mind the Tuesday to Wednesday balance. Almost half of you have voted for Florian Wirtz. In second place is Asensio, and Rodgers is last, despite scoring a hat-trick last time out in the Champions League. So this is the Aston Villa website, and they've provided updates. Unai Emery has given a lot of clarity on certain players. So I'll read this headline here, or subheading. So Aston Villa are boosted by the return of Pau Torres, Tyrone Mings and Matty Cash for the first leg of their Champions League last 16 tie against Club Brugge. Injured duo Amadou Onana and Ross Barkley also remain sidelined and miss out. So Rashford, Asensio and Disasi could make the Champions League debuts. However, the likes of Andres Garcia and Donio Marlon, as well as Alaba, are not included in Villa's Champions League squad. Marlon is ill actually, but it's not really too relevant because he's not registered in the Champions League. So Emery said the following: Onana and Barkley are not available. Garcia and Marlon, because they're not on the list. Jamal as well, not on the list. Other players are in the squad. Coming back after injury, Pau Torres is in the squad. Tyrone Mings after he wasn't on Friday. Matty Cash and Kamara. He was on Friday but on the bench. For tomorrow he could start playing minutes as well. So very definitive update there by Unai Emery, and feel free to rewind, pause, and if you want any links, let me know. I can drop it in the live chat as well. So next up is a quote by Niko Kovac, the new Borussia Dortmund manager, and he said Ryerson will be there tomorrow, so everything is fine so far. And of course he said this yesterday on Monday. Kearney had a little incident versus St. Pauli. He collided with someone and had problems with his thigh. We'll have another look at it tomorrow and we'll decide. That is the loan signing Kearney Chukwuemeka. So yeah, quite definitive as well there by Niko Kovac. So this is a set of predicted lineups according to the website Bully News, and they typically do these actually for any Bundesliga club in the Champions League. So for Dortmund, they've gone for Kobel in goal, Bensabani, Chan, Schlotterbeck and Ryerson as the back four, Sabitzer and Pascal Gross in central midfield, Gittins, Brunt and Adeyemi just behind the main man up front, Guirassy, whilst with Lille, they've gone for Chevalier, and pretty much what you'd expect. Alexandra is my favourite Lille defender because of ball recoveries, so if you are fancying a Lille upset, that could be the way to go. And my favourite asset would be Jonathan David up front, that is for sure. He's got 4 goals and 4 assists in the last 8 matches, I believe. In the last 10 matches across all competitions. Next up is going to be Real Madrid. A lot of news regarding them. So it wasn't just a discomfort, but Valverde did injure his hamstring versus Osasuna. He is still not 100%, and Ancelotti is undecided whether to start him or not, but we do have some updates about that in particular. So Raul Asensio will start against Atletico Madrid, not to be confused with Marco Asensio, the former Real Madrid man, currently on loan at Aston Villa. This is the Real Madrid squad. So Courtois, Lunin, Fran Gonzalez, Alaba, Lucas Vazquez, Fran Garcia. That's all good. Rudiger, Mendy, Asensio, Camavinga, Valverde, Modric, Tchouaméni, Arda Güler, Vinicius Jr., Mbappe, Rodrigo, Endrick, and Brahim Diaz. So this is the reported 11 for Real Madrid, and we'll probably see it actually around 5 p.m. before the deadline, because Real Madrid love to flex their muscles and basically post their lineup quite early in advance. So Courtois in goal, Valverde at right back, Asensio, Rudiger, and Mendy, with Brahim Diaz starting alongside Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Rodrigo, Mbappe, and Vinicius Jr. So with Atletico Madrid, the big doubt is whether Gallagher or Samuel Lino will start, and this is one predicted lineup according to Mundo Deportivo. So Oblak in goal, Lorente, Jimenez, either Lenglet or Lenormand, Galán, and then Giuliano, Barrios, De Paul, and then one of Lino or Gallagher, as mentioned just now, with Griezmann and Alvarez up front. They are the 2 star men, and Alvarez is on fire. So DeMarco is out for 3 weeks with a thigh strain, which I did mention and also put graphics on yesterday, so that was all made clear. But just for those that maybe missed it, DeMarco is out. I would be selling him for sure. He's going to be unavailable for both matches in the round of 16. And this is something we just got now, actually. Yeah, so this was posted today in the early hours of the morning. Carlos Augusto trained separately on Monday and is expected to be fit to face Monza this weekend. Calhanoglu will return to group training tomorrow, so that's on Wednesday, I think. Is that right? I need to double check that actually, but yeah. And we'll travel to face Feyenoord in the Champions League. DeMarco, Darmian, and Zalewski. Okay, someone can probably correct me. I'm stupid. Yeah, they did not train. So those are the updates there with Inter Milan. That is the latest ones we got. So due to the current injury crisis, Simeone Inzaghi could deploy Bastoni as a left wing-back to maintain the 3-5-2 shape against Feyenoord in the Champions League on Wednesday. So that's an update we've got. Maybe you could be tempted to go for Bastoni, who is traditionally a centre-back, of course. And with Calhanoglu, he trained separately today, but is expected to return to full group training, which I also mentioned in the other post. The midfielder is expected to travel for Inter's Champions League tie against Feyenoord. Now, this is the big one. Jan Sommer has returned to group training and will travel to face Feyenoord on Wednesday. So what does that mean for Joseph Martinez? I couldn't tell you for sure. Maybe he starts in matchday 11. I do think it's slightly harsh because he's been excellent in Sommer's absence, but that is something to bear in mind when picking your Inter Milan defenders and goalkeeper. But I think Dumfries is the standout now for sure, and then you might be tempted by De Vrij with the ball recoveries in mind, especially if Pavard does miss out. So next up is with Feyenoord. So let's just kind of zone in or hone in on the names here. So Ueda and Moda, they seem fit in time for the duel on Wednesday evening against Inter Milan. Milambo is working on an indoor program and is therefore not there during the Inter Milan match. And that is an update provided by Dennis Kranenberg. So you can also feel free to check the sources yourself. So this is just a post by a Feyenoord fan. So Feyenoord will miss 15 players against Inter Milan tomorrow. That includes Lotomba, Bulo, Nyekwop, Nadje, Milambo, Trauner, Gonzalez, Huang, Timber, Zerouki, and Stengs. And the players not registered include Carrillo, Hartmann, and Targhalin. Hopefully I got that right as well, whilst Reed is suspended. So things look very grim. That might point you towards Calhanoglu in the midfield if he's available, Lautaro Martinez up front, maybe Joseph Martinez in goal if you want to take the risk, and then the likes of De Vrij and Denzel Dumfries in that defence. I think going for 3 or 4 Inter Milan players is a very sound strategy. So next up is Barcelona and their squad, and trust me, I will get back to your questions very soon, but I felt this might answer a lot of questions in the process by showing you all the latest information, and hopefully I can get these links back maybe some people will be asking about these again. But This is the list for Barcelona very quickly. Cubarsí, Balde, Araujo, Inigo Martinez, Gavi, Ferran Torres, Pedri, Lewandowski, Fati, Rafinha, Iñaki Peña, Pablo Torre, Fermín López, Casado, Pau Victor, Yamal, Olmo, De Jong, Koundé, Eric Garcia, that is, Szczesny, Koshin, Fort, and Gerard Martin. So this is what I mentioned as well earlier in brief. Di Maria and Florentino Luis are going to miss the Barcelona game. That is a massive blow there for Benfica, and that makes me more, enticed or more, optimistic and encouraged by these Barcelona assets. So with Pavlovic, he is out with a cold. So this is the latest updates. This was actually from 2 days ago. So all of them completed individual programs. So Dyer, Pavlovic, Musiala, Paulinho, and Davis. But I'm fairly sure all of them will be available except Pavlovic. He has been ruled out. The same goes for the Bayer Leverkusen midfielder, Andrik. He is also out. So that is also worth considering for that huge clash tomorrow night between the two German clubs. So Elise has created 8 big chances in 2025, the most of any player across Europe's top 5 leagues. So that is a very nice stat there, just in case you are maybe deliberating on your choice of Bayern Munich midfielder. And these are two set of lineups, basically, according to Kicker. Neuer in goal, Lima, Upamecano, Kim Min-jae, Davis, Kimmich and Goretzka. And it's worth noting that Kimmich was doubtful, but it seems like he's available now. Elise, Musiala, Coman, and Harry Kane. Whilst Bayer Leverkusen would go for Kovar in goal, Hincapié, Tapsoba, who was doubtful, but he will be available, it seems. Jonathan Tah and Mukiele, Palacios and Xhaka, Grimaldo, Frimpong, Wirtz, and Teller. And I will show you the UEFA.com predicted lineups in a little bit as well. So no sign of Cody Gakpo in training for Liverpool, and Bradley and Joe Gomez are not involved, which was expected, but the Gakpo thing was a bit surprising, it seems. And this is where we get to the predicted lineups by UEFA.com. I'm not going to show you or talk about Club Brugge Aston Villa too much because we're literally going to get those lineups in an hour's time. So there's not really much point talking about is Asensio going to start or not. Once we see if he is in the lineup or on the bench, we can then make a final decision on that. So I'll skip those lineups for now. You can always feel free to pause it in case you want to make early decisions. So Borussia Dortmund and Lille, I did cover a set of predicted lineups earlier by Bully News, the website. And it's basically the exact same for Borussia Dortmund, actually. Whilst with Lille, Chevalier, Meunier, who used to play for Borussia Dortmund, Diakate, Alexandro, Gudmundsson, Mukaku, Andre, Buadi, Haraldsson, and Jonathan David alongside Baka. Now, the players who are out, doubtful, and potential suspension risks are also going to be named here. So for Borussia Dortmund, Mecha is out, Chukwuemeka is doubtful, and the likes of Bayer, Kuto, Ryerson, and Sabitzer will miss the next game if booked. Whilst with Lille, you've got the likes of Sauri and Zagrova who are out. Doubtful players include Cabella and Gudmundsson due to illness with the latter case, and the players that could miss the next game are Jonathan David and Thomas Meunier if they get booked as well. Just to quickly go through those for Club Brugge and Aston Villa. So Seyss is out for Club Brugge, Onyedika is doubtful, and Onyedika himself, Seyss, Skoras, Zolis, and Vetlesen will all miss the next match if booked. Zolis did actually pick up a suspension over the weekend in the Belgian league, but of course he's available right now for the Champions League. With Aston Villa, Barkley and Onana are out, which I also mentioned earlier. Cash, Mings, and Pau Torres are doubtful, whilst the likes of Dean, Disasi, Camara, and Rashford will miss the next game if booked. Let's now go to PSV versus Arsenal. So Badrak Tarovic is out due to illness. Dest, Pepe, and Tillman are also out, whilst Mario Jr. is doubtful due to illness. De Jong, Mauro Jr., Karsdorp, and Veerman will miss the next game if booked, and feel free to also see what the possible lineups are as well, otherwise we'll be here all bloody day. With Arsenal, Havertz, Jesus, Martinelli, Saka and Tomiyasu are out. No doubtful players as things stand. Martinelli and Sterling will be suspended if they get booked. With Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Bellingham is suspended. Carvajal, Ceballos, Eder Militao and Vallejo are all out. Valverde is doubtful, but it looks like all the lineups point towards him starting. The players who can miss the next match include Camavinga, Endrick, Eder Militao, Modric, Rudiger, and Tchouameni. For those wondering when the yellow cards reset, I discussed this in yesterday's video. It will be after the quarterfinals, so after matchday 14 and heading into matchday 15. So with Atletico Madrid, Azpilicueta and Koke are out, and the players who miss the next match include Angel Correa and Jimenez. Now for the Wednesday games very quickly, and I'll put a link here just in case you can't find this as well. And be sure to drop a like, by the way. We do have quite a few people watching, which I do appreciate. So with Feyenoord, they've gone for Wellen Rufer in goal. But once again, you can read the lineups as well and feel free to pause. The players who are out include Bielo, Gonzalez, Hwang, Melambo, Moda, Nyekwup, Reed, Stengs, Timber, Trauner, Ueda, Zerouki. Although, like I mentioned in the previous update, there is a chance that Ueda, for example, could be available actually. Those that can miss the next game include Osman and Trauner. With Inter Milan, Carlos Augusto, Darmian, DeMarco, Sommer, and Zalewski are out apparently, but I think that will change and Sommer will just turn into a doubtful player or possibly in that starting 11. Kalanoglu is doubtful, whilst Aslani, Barella, Dumfries and Pavard will miss the next match if booked. So that's worth highlighting with Dumfries. He's my favourite Inter Milan asset, especially in that defensive line, but he is a suspension risk. So for Bayern Munich, Leverkusen, you've got Peretz who is out. The doubtful players include Kimmich and Upamecano. Gnabry and Sane will miss the next game if booked. Whilst with Leverkusen, no players are out reportedly. Tapsoba is doubtful. Then they've got Andrik, Frimpong, Garcia, Wirtz and Xhaka will miss the next game if booked. But of course, there was that recent update, and I think UEFA.com will factor that in very soon. Andrik is out. That is confirmed. I think Belosian and Terrier are also out for the rest of the season, and they're probably not registered in the Champions League squad anyway. So for Benfica versus Barcelona, the players who are out for the Portuguese side include Jonathan Barr, Di Maria, Manu Silva, Renato Sanchez, Florentino Luis. No doubtful players. Amdouni, Arsunes, Barr, Carreras, Kokchu and Otamendi will miss the next game if booked. Whilst with Barcelona, Christensen is the only player who's out injured alongside ter Stegen, who I think hasn't been registered in the Champions League squad. I'd have to double check that. And they have no suspension risk and no doubtful players. So I think the Catalans are in great shape at the moment. The final set of games, or the final set of teams and the final fixture is PSG-Liverpool. So no players are out for Paris Saint-Germain, no doubtful players, and the only suspension risk is Fabian Ruiz. Whilst Liverpool have Gomez, Nalo, I think Conor Bradley is out, and potentially we could see Gakpo, who didn't train today, but according to UEFA.com, Bradley is doubtful, and those that can miss the next match include Elliott, Konate, McAllister, and Robertson. So that was a very extensive list. I might go back to this at some stage very briefly and read out some predicted lineups, but like I mentioned before with Club Brugge Aston Villa, it's not worth going through too much because we are getting those lineups very soon, and once they are out, they will be covered on this channel. Let me go back to my team. No changes from my team selection video thus far, but there could be a few modifications. Maybe I remove one Borussia Dortmund player, for example. Asensio could become Rodgers or Florian Wirtz, perhaps even Ousmane Dembele, so that spot isn't locked in. I'm fairly happy with the rest of my midfield though, I have to say that. Even my forward line, we have so many choices there, but I do like this front three. And then Joseph Martinez, do I stick with him or do I just go for a less riskier pick? Because if you look at Sommer being back in the squad, that could spell trouble in either matchday 11 or matchday 12, and you want to avoid goalkeeper transfers, even in my situation with a wild card in my back pocket. So in a little while, I'll go for some different graphics, but let's go for some questions first and see what you lot are saying. So yeah, there are a lot of questions coming in, so let's see what we can answer. Is Leverkusen playing a back six? I don't think so, but I see what you're saying. I mean, the two wing-backs, Frimpong and Grimaldo, it's not really a traditional kind of set of wing-backs, and they're not defensive by any means. They're very offensive and occupy some very advanced positions. Bayern was so bad against Celtic, no Bayern players for me. Yeah, but Olise's been in great form, so I'm quite keen to go for him. He's my only Bayern Munich player, so maybe that does have a bearing in terms of my kind of outlook on Bayern Munich. Yeah, Lautaro is a good choice, Alberto. The thing is, you've also got Lewandowski, Vinicius or Mbappe, you've got Guirassy, Pavlidis, Alvarez. We've got so many choices, but with Feyenoord's injury problems, I think that's a decent punt for sure. Any unexpected potential UCL final? We can talk about that when I show the fixtures again, like I did yesterday, and then show you the bracket for all the teams. RMM says Olmo and Guirassy or Adeyemi and Lewandowski. I'd go for Adeyemi and Lewandowski. That is a rather tragic front three for Arsenal. Well, yeah, that's why they need to sign players. It's not going to get any better, let's put it that way. Frimpong and Grimaldo are good business, basically getting midfielders for a defender's price. I agree. I'm not going to go for both, I think. I'd still expect Bayern Munich to score, especially in the first leg, but having one is still a very good acquisition. Dylan, would you pick Yamal, Szoboszlai or Rodgers? I'd go for Rodgers. Best Arsenal mid? Oh, God. Possibly Marino, just because he's playing up front. It would not surprise me if he was on the bench, though. But yeah, I think Marino, just because of the position he plays in. Who should I swap for Cody Gakpo? Well, the three forwards you see on screen are my favourites right now, but you've also got Vinicius Jr. At a similar price, I'd say Lautaro Martinez for sure. Gittins or Adeyemi? Adeyemi. He's in my team for a reason. Yeah, Sommer could start. I think it's probably a step too far for him because he just had thumb surgery, I think it was, and the reports indicate he'd be out for a month. But I think he'll be available in Matchday 12, I'm not going to lie. That's what puts me off Joseph Martinez a little bit now. It's like we're always in the same issues, with an Italian side with their goalkeepers. Thank you, Singer. Very much appreciated. Amazing screens you showed us. Thank you so much. Now, Barca and Inter assets look way more juicy. Yeah, I agree, especially the Inter Milan ones, but with no Di Maria or Luis, I think that is kind of a double-edged sword, basically. So, with no Di Maria, Benfica lack that creativity and that kind of difference maker in the attack. And Florentino Luis makes such a big difference to their defence. I mean, for example, in Matchday 9, Florentino Luis played, they got a comfortable win over Monaco, they kept the clean sheet, whilst in the second leg they drew 3-3 and conceded so many chances, so that is a massive blow. Why Elise over Wirtz? I think Wirtz is the best, or the better asset overall in the midfield, but for this game specifically, with Bayern Munich being at home, I think Elise is more likely to score or assist. Not only that, Elise has been in brilliant form whilst Wirtz has one goal in the last 7 games. That was all covered in my team selection video yesterday. But don't get me wrong, I want to have Florian Wirtz. But I also want a decent balance between the Tuesday and the Wednesday, which is why I currently have Marco Asensio instead of Wirtz. But that could change from now until the deadline, especially if Asensio is benched. Best 7.5 to 6.5 million midfielders and Rodgers. So apart from Rodgers, yeah, I'd be looking at Asensio, for sure. My favourite might be Adeyemi though, especially from the Tuesday games. From Wednesday, you might be looking at Çalhanoğlu, but he is slightly doubtful, so bear that in mind. He is on penalties for Inter Milan, and he is also a fairly decent UCL Fantasy option. I'm guessing that's the Barca keeper. Yeah, Szczesny is nailed on now. When he first joined, Iñaki Peña was still starting all the games, but basically since December, or late December, Szczesny has started every single game, had a very shaky start, and now he's putting in some good performances. Who are your favourite Tuesday goalkeepers in order, please? Well, Kobel is first for me, in isolation. I think it depends what the context is. So is this only for match days 11 and 12 or long-term? Because if it's long-term, I think Courtois over David Raya. This week and also for next week, maybe Raya is slightly above Courtois. Maybe. So I'd say Kobel, Raya and Courtois. But if you want a long-term goalkeeper, I think Courtois is probably the safest pick overall. I am expecting Madrid to reach the semi-finals at least. No mistake in Liverpool lineup, Jones or Jota maybe? Well, yeah, that's just a predicted lineup by UEFA.com. They're not going to get everything spot on, but Gakpo is, well, he wasn't training, so he's a massive doubt for the PSG game. Yeah, I think it's more likely it'll be Jones out of the two, and then you've got Diaz up front, as we saw against Bayer Leverkusen earlier this season. Yeah, as mentioned before, Raul, my favourite midfielder from Arsenal is probably going to be Marino. Trossard is probably the safest pick, I'd say, but I'd take a punt on Marino if you really want to go there. That's not my recommendation, though. Dembele or Olmo? I'd go for Dembele from the two. Do you play on any cash or on any groups? No, I don't. Who will the Barcelona keeper be? Szczesny. Alvarez or Mbappe? I prefer Mbappe. Arsenal fullbacks, can it be Lewis Kelly and White? Yeah, it could be. I do think Timber starts, but I'm just saying in the near future, I think Timber will get a rest eventually in the Premier League or Champions League. He has played so many minutes and, you know, there are so many occasions where he played 90 minutes and he just came off the back of an ACL injury. Vinicius, Winieri or Lautaro Martinez Yamal? I'd go for Lautaro Martinez and Yamal, I think. Best goalkeepers, I already have Courtois. Yeah, I just mentioned the Tuesday one, so Kobel or Raya. For the Wednesday, If he starts, I think my favourite is Josep Martinez, but there's a chance he doesn't because Sommer is back in the squad as mentioned before. Pavlidis pick up front, yeah. It's just I don't think I'm going to pick him over Guirassy, Vinicius/Mbappe and Lewandowski, but he's a good pick, of course. Hello Dylan, what do you think of Lautaro captain? I wouldn't captain him now. You want to captain a Tuesday player first. Lautaro plays tomorrow, so ensure you captain a Guirassy, a Vinicius, Mbappe, even Alvarez, but captain a Tuesday player first. Lautaro tomorrow? Absolutely fine. I think that's a nice punt, but I wouldn't go for him now because he's a Wednesday player. Vinicius, Mbappe, Yamal, or Lewandowski, Mbappe, Dembele? Yeah, so my preference is going to be the latter, Lewandowski, Mbappe, Dembele. Alvarez or Lewandowski? I've gone for Lewandowski right now, so I think that speaks for itself. Rodgers or Asensio? If Asensio starts, I'd lean towards him. He's got better form, 4 goals in the last 3 games. I'm not a huge fan of either pick, to be quite honest with you. I think Wirtz is better overall, but it's also about the Tuesday-Wednesday balance, and I don't like Wirtz's record against Bayern Munich. Yamal or Asensio? I'd take a punt on Asensio. Also an extra Tuesday player. This could be very important, and you might be asking, why is that even relevant? Because if you've got, let's say, 5 Tuesday players, and in my case, I could have even just 6 if I buy Wirtz for Asensio. That means once the Tuesday games are done, you'll sub out your low-scoring players. I think the substitutions themselves will be less effective because you've got more players left playing tomorrow, and that could mean more blanks, and you can't take those players out of your team because they play tomorrow, and you can't make substitutions from the Wednesday onwards. So that's why I would be very mindful of that Tuesday-Wednesday balance if possible. I certainly wouldn't recommend having fewer than 5 Tuesday players, even though most of the good options you'd say are on the Wednesday. Elise, Dembele or Yamal? Elise is my favourite. Best midfield from Aston Villa? It's a close call between Asensio and Rodgers. So in the case of Rodgers, he'll offer you more security. But I think if Asensio starts now, he's got the form, 4 goals in the last 3 games, 2 braces. I'd take a punt on him, but I think they're both good choices. Is Bakayoko worth picking up? If you're kind of backing PSV to win, at least the first leg, then that could be decent. But Bakayoko has been benched on a lot of occasions recently, particularly in the Eredivisie. And even in the first leg against Juventus, by the way, in Matchday 9, he was benched, which surprised me at the time. Rodgers or Asensio, just covered, thank you very much. Musiala or Elise? I prefer Elise right now. Very close, but that would be my preference. I would go for Dumfries there, Rabba. The Inter Milan centre-backs, yeah, I think both of them alongside Pavard potentially, but there is a doubt about the Frenchman. So, yeah, I'd expect both Acerbi and De Vrij to start. They normally play a back 3, and that's why they could play Bastoni as a left wing-back. He's going to play for sure, by the way, Bastoni. If you're asking me, yeah, with the injury problems, the marker being out, yes, either Dumfries left wing back being out of position or Bastoni. And that will also have a bearing on the rest of the setup, of course. But yeah, I'd expect Bastoni, Acerbi and De Vrij all to start. Why is Upamecano marked as doubtful? I need to double check the exact reason for it, but he should start. A lot of the predicted lineups have him in there. So let me just quickly check that for you. So UEFA.com have marked doubtful because of a thigh problem. I think he'll be available though. So thank you to those that have liked the video. If you haven't already, be sure to like the stream. Let's get this over to 300. That'd be greatly appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and also hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single upload or live stream. We've got a super chat in the building, so let's go through that. Thank you, Raphael. Rafinha or Lewandowski for captaincy? Well, I'm currently going to Rafinha. They both scored braces in that game against Benfica in late January, but don't captain them now. You want to captain a Tuesday player first. So in my case, it's either going to be Mbappe/Vinicius, whoever my final pick in the Madrid attack is, or Guirassy. And if they blank or don't do that well, I will then switch the armband to most likely Rafinha. And that's something I've covered in all my videos, including the team selection yesterday. So Rafinha is my answer, but don't captain him just yet. You want to go for a Tuesday player first. Trossard or Rodgers? Rodgers. Elise, Diaz or Wirtz? Overall, Wirtz is the best option, but I think for this match day, I'd be tempted by Elise. Yeah, I think Liverpool will go through, so I'm very clear on that. But the first leg is kind of it could be anything because PSG are in great form, unbeaten since late November. They could win or draw the first leg, but I still think Liverpool turn things around at Anfield. So, yeah, I'd say PSG first leg are more likely to win, but Liverpool go through. Van Dijk or Trent? I think Van Dijk in UCL Fantasy. Frimpong or Grimaldo? Both excellent choices. I'd go for Grimaldo. What are the safest keepers to get in your opinion? Probably Szczesny on the Wednesday, and on the Tuesday, it's between Courtois or Kobel. That would be my recommendation. The thing is, if you go for Kobel and Szczesny, that will mean they will face each other if they go through in the quarterfinals. So if you want to look long-term, I'd say Courtois and Szczesny right now. Saliba or Dumfries and Mbappe or Julian? Dumfries, and I would go for Mbappe. Yeah, Perisic will be the best PSV midfielder. He's got the form, 3 goals in the last 6 games, 1 assist. He scored in both matches against Juventus. Yeah, he'd be the one, I think, from PSV. Especially with Tillman out. I think the other one to look at is Bakayoko, but his minutes aren't as secure. Gross over Adeyemi. He offers the ball recovery potential, which Adeyemi doesn't as much, although there are some surprising returns there this season. But yeah, Adeyemi for me has the highest ceiling. He's got the bigger goal threat, playing more advanced. So that'll be my recommendation. Sydney puts his team thoughts. Yeah, I like it. You know, I've got a very similar setup. Ryan Allison's interesting, so yeah. I'd possibly consider changing one of your goalkeepers. I think Raya is probably the more disposable one. And don't get me wrong, on the Tuesday, Raya is still one of the best goalkeepers for matchdays 11 and 12, but I don't expect Arsenal to go very far in this competition, and I'd be happy proven wrong. But having Gabriel and Raya, I don't know, I personally just feel a little bit off by that. But the midfield and forward line is great, no problems. The other thing to consider is the Tuesday-Wednesday balance. So you've got Raya, Schlotterbeck, Gabriel. You've also got Adeyemi, Asensio, Guirassy, and Alvarez. So you've got 7 Tuesday players. That's pretty decent, to be fair. Yeah, that's a good team, well thought out. I do prefer Mbappe over Alvarez, but the Argentine is in great form, and Atletico Madrid have been one of the best teams recently. Kane or Mbappe? Mbappe, that's why he's in my team. Yeah, between those two, I lean towards Mbappe, Taylor. Courtois and Gabriel, or Raya and Real defender? I would prefer Courtois and Gabriel here, but good question. Harvey Burton says, I'm reluctant on putting any PSG, Liverpool or Bayern, the team's players. You can't have them all. But you are missing some great assets, you know, Dembele and Hakimi from PSG. They've also got some decent defenders like Pacho, Marquinhos, Nuno Mendes, but I think the only one I'd go for is Hakimi. You've also got Barcola and Kvaratskhelia, who are worth considering. From Liverpool, Salah is kind of the go-to man for sure. Van Dijk and Trent at the back are solid choices. But yeah, you don't have to go for them, so to speak. So yeah, that question I gave my opinion on, so let him know if you have a clear preference between Mbappe or Vinicius Jr. Jaden says Kimmich or Elise. I prefer Elise. Pavlidis instead of Lewandowski first match. I prefer Lewandowski, but Pavlidis is fine. Mbappe over Vinny. That's my current preference, as mentioned before. Adeyemi or Gittins. Adeyemi. And Gittins hasn't started the last 2 games, so he's more of a rotation risk. You get 5 free transfers for the quarterfinals for the first leg, but as mentioned before, you get free transfers for the second leg of each round, which includes matchday 12, the second leg of the round of 16. Then you get 5 free transfers for the first leg of each round, so the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and the Champions League final. Koundé or Grimaldo? Grimaldo. Salah or Adeyemi? Salah. Thoughts on my tea? Maybe another time. Bastoni or De Vrij? That's an interesting one, because if Bastoni plays left wing back, which is very likely, I'm not so sure if that's a good or bad thing for him, because he's a centre back by trade. I think De Vrij is slightly better for ball recoveries, but they're both pretty decent choices. I'd lean towards De Vrij, but they're both... There's not much in it, let's put it that way. Should I change Rodgers with Adeyemi? I prefer Adeyemi, personally, yeah. Georgie says Benjamin Pavard is starting and De Vrij is benched according to many probable lineups. Thank you for that. I have seen a few people say that De Vrij isn't the most secure, and I get that perspective. I'll have a look now on Twitter, because sometimes they post some new, updates and stuff like that. if Sky Italia have posted something and De Vrij isn't there, I would suggest not going for him because they are very reliable with their predicted lineups. So I'm going to have a look now on Inter Milan's kind of different pages and see if there is a leaked lineup or a prediction being made. But yeah, there is a picture of Sommer. He has travelled, that is confirmed. So training updates, I think this is pretty much what I covered earlier, right? Yeah, DeMarco aiming to return against Atalanta. Carlos Augusto will join the group on Thursday, hoping to recover to face Monza. And Calhanoglu has returned to the full group. But yeah, no predicted lineups yet. I think if you want to go safe, by the way, between Bastoni and De Vrij, I think Bastoni is probably the one to just go for. De Vrij has started every single Champions League game, I think, but that could change in Matchday 11. Why Mbappe captain over Guirassy? Well, Mbappe scored a hat-trick last time out in the Champions League, and he scored against Atletico Madrid only a few weeks ago. But yeah, Guirassy's an option for me. I am considering him. Why Adeyemi over Yamal in your team? I've already got Rafinha and Lewandowski, and Yamal, I just don't think is a great goal scorer. He's a top talent. He's got a lot of potential, decent assister. If not, you could say a top quality assister. But yeah, I think Adeyemi is a better UCL Fantasy option. Gross, Adeyemi or Elise? I'd go for Adeyemi, and another reason for the Yamal Adeyemi thing, and also goes to your question, Yanni, is because Tuesday, Wednesday is important to have a nice balance, and I'd like having that extra Tuesday play if possible. It's a good fixture on paper against Lille, who lost 4-1 against PSG on Saturday. Gross is a nice one, though. He got 4 assists against Union Berlin very recently, but I would go for Adeyemi out of the 3. Alvaro Perez says, check my team. So Kobel, Szczesny, Rudiger, Gabriel, Schlotterbeck, Dumfries, De Vrij, Wirtz, Rafinha, Salah, Dembele, Barcola, Mbappe, Guirassy. Look, it's a good team. I'm guessing that's Lewandowski at the end. Yeah, so just some things to note. You say Kobel and Szczesny. I wouldn't go for both of them because if they go through, Borussia Dortmund will face Barcelona in the quarterfinals. And I think, you know what, it's probably worth going to the fixtures very soon so you have a full picture and visualization of future rounds as well. But in your case, Alvaro, I'd change one of the goalkeepers, even though I like both of them for Matchday 11. I think with your defence as well, I'd go for Dumfries over De Vrij. But in your case, you've got both of them. Maybe go a bit safer with Bastoni because there is a chance De Vrij is benched. There are some predicted lineups which don't have De Vrij in there. Midfield and forward line is great. I personally think Liverpool will win, at least in the second leg, and go through. So I'd probably advise you to go for a different midfielder than Barcola. I think Dembele is probably enough, but that's my opinion. You might feel differently. So you've got to back your gut. Guirassy captain's a great shout for the Tuesday. Just ensure you've got a contingency plan on Wednesday if needed. But it's a good squad. Just be mindful about those things as well. So hopefully that is helpful. I would choose, I think, Asensio over Gross, yeah, but not much separating those two, or Adeyemi overall. But Adeyemi is my favourite Tuesday midfielder. So let's now go to some different screens. This will also give you a bit of context about my squad. You'll also see my Matchday 10 performance, which wasn't great. Of course, I delved into it in detail in my team selection video and also my first draft. So I'll let this play out. Of course, Di Gregorio blanked. Only Hakimi and Bacho did well for me. Hernandez was the villain of Matchday 10. Kim Min-jae made a mistake for Kun's goal, but got 4 points. Dembele captain flop in a 7-0 win. Barcola got a goal and an assist. Bellingham suspended now, and everyone else blanked. Pretty much an awful week, and the knockout playoff rounds were very harsh and very frustrating for me. But what you see now are the different transfers and players I'm considering. But Joseph Martinez might be on the chopping block for me. It's a shame because he's a low-owned differential, 2% ownership right now. He had 0%, by the way, when I first highlighted him. But with Sommer back in the squad, that doesn't fill me with confidence. I think Van Dijk over Bacho makes sense, but maybe I go for a different defender instead of him. Gabriel in for Hakimi is also questionable, but I think having one Arsenal defender is decent on paper. Bellingham to Rafinha, I think, is a very simple transfer. That is definitely happening. Musiala to Elise, very close, but I do favour the Frenchman. He's in brilliant form right now. Kane to Mbappe, kind of a similar thing. Kane isn't showing the form recently. Mbappe has 10 goals in the last 10 games, and Robert Lewandowski is having his best ever season at Barcelona, whilst Vinicius is really struggling at the moment. So I think going from Mbappe over Vinicius and having Lewandowski is the way to go, but that could easily change. Let's not forget how good Vinicius Jr. can be in the Champions League. With my Tuesday goalkeeper, I've got Kobel against Lille. So Yeah, it might not be the best long term. I do accept that, but I've got the wild card in my back pocket, so I can be more aggressive in match days 11 and 12. And then, if let's say, for example, Kobel is eliminated, or by that stage he faces Barcelona in the next round, I can get rid of him with the wild card or just with multiple free transfers. Dumfries, Gabriel, and Schlotterbeck is my current defensive line in the starting 11. I've got Rafinha, Salah, Asensio, and Adeyemi. The most likely change I'll make is Asensio to Florian Wirtz, and possibly even Dembele with the form he's in. That is one possible adjustment I could make to the starting 11. Lewandowski, Mbappe, Guirassy is fairly locked in. And the only one I might consider tweaking is actually Mbappe and going to a different option instead. With the bench options as well, Jose Martinez is also on the chopping block. The same goes for Van Dijk, potentially, but he's been excellent in the Champions League this season. If I'm not mistaken, only one blank in UCL Fantasy, which came, I think, in matchday 7 against Lille. But Grimaldo, despite facing Bayern Munich away, I'm very happy to have him for the attacking potential. Elise is in great form. There is a bit of a clash there, but I think one of them at least could return. And with the captaincy, I've been quite consistent on this all week. Mbappe is my current preference for the Tuesday, and then Rafinha for the Wednesday, which is a question I got in this stream as well. But I might be tempted by a Guirassy punt with the captaincy on the Tuesday. I have to put it out there, and I did say it in my team selection video yesterday. So before I go back to, your questions, and then we have covered a lot already, by the way, let's go to the fixtures. Just for those that aren't aware, these are the matches. Club Brugge, Aston Villa, we'll get the lineups very soon. PSV, Arsenal, and be sure to check out my team selection video because I break down all the latest injury updates. The same goes for the beginning of this stream. By doing those two things, you will know everything you need to in terms of squad news, injury updates and suspensions. Inter Milan versus Feyenoord is the early kickoff tomorrow. The rest of these games will take place at 8 PM UK time. Of course, these that you see on screen are on the Wednesday, but what I wanted to show you is this bracket, which is coming up now. So, as you can see, PSV versus Arsenal, the winners of this game will then face Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid. So be very mindful of that. If you've got Raya and, well, you can't even do that anyway. They both play on the Tuesday. But let's say, for example, the best one I can really give is Szczesny plays on the Wednesday and Kobel plays on the Tuesday. So it looks great for match days 11 and 12. Short term, that could work very well. But if you want two long-term goalkeepers, I would not advise Kobel and Szczesny because they would play each other in match days 13 and 14. But as you can see here as well, the winner of PSG Liverpool will then face Club Brugge or Aston Villa. Then the winner of Benfica Barcelona will face Borussia Dortmund or Lille. And for Bayern Munich Leverkusen, the winner of that will face Feyenoord or Inter Milan. So be very mindful of that. If you go, for example, for Courtois and Szczesny, the only clash you would have is in the Champions League final if both teams were to make it. An El Clasico final would be brilliant. Of course, it would be a first time in the Champions League. And that also works very well for the quarterfinals, the round of 16, and the semi-finals, should those teams go through. So that's the sort of goalkeeper pairing you want to aim for. And it's not an issue if you got a goalkeeper clash for the Champions League final in matchday 15 because you can't make subs. You only got a starting 11 like we just had in matchday 8 back in December, I think, no, back in January. So be very mindful of that. Hopefully these graphics have helped you in terms of knowing everything you need to for UCL Fantasy. And before I go back to your questions, the odds. Nothing has changed in terms of goal scorers and clean sheets. So Real Madrid are top for clean sheet odds, surprisingly, with a 42% chance. Inter Milan, Borussia Dortmund, Arsenal and Bayern Munich complete the top 5, with Aston Villa, Club Brugge, Barcelona, PSG, Atletico Madrid, PSV, Lille, Liverpool, Feyenoord, Bayer Leverkusen and Benfica finishing the list in order. And to go to the goal scorer odds, Robert Lewandowski is top. You've got Kane, Mbappe, Lautaro Martinez and Dembele in the top 5. So looking at some of these kind of stats and stuff, it might make you tempted to go for some of these options. I think Dembele in the midfield could be one of them. Especially if Asensio is benched, I might get rid of him and just go for either Wirtz or Dembele instead and forget about the Tuesday-Wednesday balance a little bit and hope for the best there. Rafinha, Guirassy, Vinicius, Watkins, Thuram, Salah, Olmo, Pavlidis, also Gonzalo Ramos and Yamal complete the top 15. Bear in mind, these projections are based on the assumption that these players start. Not all of them will, especially in the case of Gonzalo Ramos, for example. So let's now go back to my UCL Fantasy team. And yeah, maybe in a little bit I'll go for predicted lineups. And of course, Club Brugge versus Aston Villa, the official starting 11s as well. Is Brandt worthy of a punt over Adeyemi? Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's a massive difference between those two. The same goes for Pascal Gross, so I think that's reasonable. Asensio or Olmo? I'd favour Asensio slightly. Got Lewandowski and Rafinha. Yeah, and also with Olmo, I mean, you could say the same thing about Asensio, but both of them are rotation risks. And with Asensio, at least, you know if he's going to start or not. And by the way, I think both of them will start, but I would favour Asensio for the extra Tuesday player. Thank you, Julio Peña, for the super chat. Or Julio Pena, I should say. No, Enya. Hi, Dylan. I'm currently on Kobel, Martinez, Saliba, Gabriel, De Vrij, Grimaldo, and Schlotterbeck with 0.8 million in the bank. Would you recommend any changes? The defense is where I'm struggling on who to pick. Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm also struggling a little bit with that defensive line. There are so many options in this position, but what I would say is I think De Vrij to Dumfries might be your safest bet because some lineups do have De Vrij on the bench, which is a shame because I think he's arguably the best Inter Milan defender in UCL Fantasy. You can also go to Bastoni, for example, and with your choice of goalkeepers, I like it. I've currently got the same setup, but we might have to get rid of Martinez because Sommer is in the squad. He travelled to Feyenoord, and that could be a big issue either in matchday 11 or 12. So it might be best to go for Szczesny, for example. But if you do that, you've also got Kobel. They would face each other in the quarterfinals. And I'd only do that if you've got the wild card and you'll use it in matchday 13. So I would sell De Vrij to Dumfries just to be safe. And I hope this doesn't backfire. I think Martinez is someone to maybe possibly offload, possibly. I wouldn't go for Saliba and Gabriel. Maybe you're backing an Arsenal clean sheet, and I hope to God you're right, but I think I'd diversify the defence a little bit more. Yeah, you've got Schlotterbeck for the Tuesday, that's great. Even if you're doubling up on Dortmund defensively right now, I think that could work for the first leg, but Saliba and Gabriel, I'd change that. I think Saliba out to one of Van Dijk, maybe Hakimi, depending on who you fancy for the PSG Liverpool game. I think that's something also worth bearing in mind. So I'd sell Saliba. I'd maybe consider De Vrij to Dumfries and maybe Martinez out. Those are the changes I'd recommend. But overall, it's a solid defensive line and it's going to be very close overall. Hakimi or Van Dijk? I prefer Van Dijk over both legs. For matchday 11 specifically, maybe a slight preference for Hakimi, but overall, I think Van Dijk for sure. That's why I've gone for him right now. In my situation, though, I've got the wild card. I can afford to be aggressive. It might make sense for me to just go for the matchday 11 punt and then worry about Van Dijk later. So that's something I need to weigh up myself. But overall, for the long term, 100% I'd go for Van Dijk. Rafinha or Olmo? Rafinha all day long. Tommy Raw says, hi Dylan, Adeyemi, Asensio, Bastoni or Wirtz, Rodgers, Van Dijk? I think Wirtz, Rodgers, Van Dijk. Yeah, really close though. There's really... actually, you know what? No, I'd go for Adeyemi, Asensio, Bastoni. It's really close though. I like Wirtz a lot, by the way, and I want to bring him back into my team. But that's probably what I'd recommend, yeah. So... I'm not a big fan of Barcola. I think Dembele is the best PSG attacker. And don't get me wrong, Barcola's fine, but... yeah, if I'm going to go for a PSG attacker, I'm going for the guy who's got 18 goals in 2025, more than any other player. Should I play Lautaro Martinez over Guirassy? Well, the way you phrase the question, should I play him over, suggests you would start him and bench the other. You want to start the Tuesday player, which is Guirassy. And overall, I do prefer Guirassy anyway, so just be mindful about UCL Fantasy and how it works. You want to put your Wednesday players on your bench. You might have some Wednesday players starting, that's fair enough, but what you want to ensure is have Tuesday players in your starting 11 and captain a Tuesday player first before then switching to the Wednesday captain if needed. Calafiori is a good pick. I'm not sure if he starts. I wouldn't go there. If you want to cover Arsenal defensively, then I think Gabriel is the best one. You've got Raya in goal and Saliba. Timber's not too shabby, but I think Skelly will start left back. Why do you think Kobel is a good pick? Well, Borussia Dortmund have kept back-to-back clean sheets, mate. They won 6-0 against Union Berlin and 2-0 against St. Pauli. They also kept clean sheets against Sporting in both matches. So they kind of turned things around under their new manager, Niko Kovac. And I mentioned this many times before. I've got the wild card, so I can afford to be very short-term with my picks. And I think on the Tuesday, Kobel is the best goalkeeper, so that's why I've gone for him. Why no Madrid defender? Good clean sheet odds for today, and likely to go far in the competition. Also, I think what I just said kind of speaks for itself here as well. I've got the wild card, short-term picks. I have considered Courtois in for Kobel. I won't deny that, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of their defenders, to be honest. Rudiger, Alaba. Nah, I'm not a big fan of these options, UCL fantasy-wise, compared to what I have. Trent or Van Dijk? Van Dijk. Should I play Martinez over Guirassy? Yeah, just covered that. Why Van Dijk over Trent? Ball recoveries. He's also got more goal threat. I think Trent, of course, has the assist potential for sure, but in UCL Fantasy, I think the point speaks for themselves. I think Van Dijk is a better option. Yeah, I've mentioned this in my videos, mate. So the best time to use the wildcard, if you still have it, would be match day 13 or 15. So the first leg of the quarterfinals or the semi-finals, depending on your team situation. With the Limitless, I'd recommend using it in match day 12, so the second leg of the round of 16. Any other options for the Wednesday goalkeeper besides Szczesny? Knowing the goalkeeper situation of Inter Milan is confusing, and because long-term it may not be good. Well, in that case, you might want to go for Alisson. That's why in my best team video, I did recommend Alisson Becker. Would you rather have Szczesny, Koundé and Dumfries, or Szczesny, Bastoni and Dumfries? I would rather go for the double up in Inter Milan defensively, which includes Bastoni and Dumfries, yeah. Wanyeri, not a terrible option. I mean, he did very well against Girona in match day 8, but I can't really bring myself to recommend Arsenal attackers right now, only defenders. So if you are fancying Arsenal, especially today, then I think Wanyeri is not a bad punt, but I wouldn't go there personally. Anish says Pavlidis or Guirassy. Guirassy for me. And at the moment, I lean towards Mbappe. Why Elise over Kim Min-jae? Well, they're different positions, and I think Leverkusen could score. And that's why I've gone for Elise, who's in brilliant form as well, by the way. Kim Min-jae has been very disappointing at times. Maybe not this season. I think in the league phase he was decent at times for me. He got 18 points or something like that, 16 against Paris Saint-Germain. But yeah, I don't know. I'd rather go for Elise and cover Bayern Munich offensively. That's kind of my thinking there. Why Asensio, not Rodgers? This is not locked in. I have to emphasize that a lot. But yeah, we don't know the lineups yet. If Asensio doesn't start, I'm not going to go for him. He could get a goal off the bench. Yeah, well done. But I'm not going to go for players on the bench. So in 20 minutes' time, once we see who starts for Aston Villa, I can make a final decision. But even if Asensio starts, there is a chance he is removed from my team. Best goalkeeper for day 2? Well, Jose Martinez if he starts, but that's a big if now. And if not, I think Szczesny long-term is the best one. Kane and Rodgers or Guirassy and Asensio? Guirassy and Asensio. 2 Dortmund defenders instead of 1 defender and 1 keeper. I've said this in my team selection video yesterday. I'm not a huge fan of having 2 out of 5 slots in the defense or midfield being occupied by the same team. I'd rather go for a keeper and a defender. Alvarez or Griezmann? Alvarez. Consor Gabriel? Gabriel. I wouldn't go for Odegaard. Once again, I'm not going to recommend Arsenal attackers, only their defenders. So that's why I'm not really too optimistic. So Asensio not starting, thank you. I'll cover that very soon. And like I said, Asensio wasn't nailed on for me anyway. Anish says, is Tielemans a good option? Yeah, he's got a decent amount of UCL fantasy points this season. A lot of blanks as well. But if he does score, he's got a great chance of winning player of the match. And he's got a high ceiling. He can get the odd ball recovery point. I mean, he's certainly better than Asensio right now if the Spaniard is benched, which seems to be the case. So, yeah, Tielemans is a good option. I think Rodgers would be my favourite, though, at Aston Villa now. Tielemans second, and then Asensio third still. But I wouldn't recommend him with the benching. So thank you for the super chat, Anish. Let me know if you end up going for Tielemans. But what I want to do now is cover the Club Brugge Aston Villa lineups. So thank you to those who have pointed out the fact that Asensio is benched. So Club Brugge have gone for Mignolet, Ordóñez, Zolis, Jukla, Onyedika, who was doubtful. He is starting here. Vanaken, who scored the winner against Aston Villa earlier this season. Jashari, Micheli, De Kuyper, Sabi, and Tabi, I think it is. Was it Talbi? So apologies for that. My eyesight is terrible. With Aston Villa, Emi Martinez, Disasi, Konsa, Mings, McGinn, Tielemans, Rashford, Watkins, Dean, Rodgers, and Bailey. But with Aston Villa's squad depth, offensively, yeah, they can afford to bench a Rashford or Asensio and still have a very strong starting 11. So, yeah, Asensio's on the bench. He is going to be removed from my team very shortly. I am still tempted by Rodgers. I think Tielemans is not a shabby shout, but yeah, I might just end up going for a Dembele or Wirtz, I think, and having 9 Wednesday players and only 6 on the Tuesday, which isn't the best balance, but that's what I might end up going for. So you'll see in the next hour or so anyway. I wouldn't recommend copying. I've seen some people saying, I don't play, I don't watch football, I'm going to copy you, and then they blame me when things go wrong. I don't recommend doing that, but everyone can do things the way they want to. So yeah, that is the lineups covered. Nothing more needs to be said. Let's go to the predictor very quickly again. So yeah, Dortmund 2, Lille 0, PSV 1, Arsenal 0 is my current set of predictions. Real Madrid 2, Atletico Madrid 1, Benfica 2, Barcelona 3, Bayern Munich 2, Bayer Leverkusen 1, PSG 1, Liverpool 2. Yeah, some of these could be changed, to be fair. But yeah, interesting stuff. I might put the booster on Barcelona, actually, which is maybe a bit risky, if not Borussia Dortmund. But I've got a lot of time until I can lock in these predictions anyway. We'll go through these again after the deadline has passed, especially if we hit a Super Chat goal and have an even longer deadline stream. But let me now go back to my UCL Fantasy squad. You can see Asensio in here, 2% ownership for a reason. Despite the 2 braces in the last 3 matches, he is benched and he is someone worth offloading. You know what? Let's actually go to the transfer section and let's get rid of him. So I think Florian Wirtz would be my favourite to replace him. And by the way, that's not up to date, is it? Yeah, I think that's from what I had before. So let's change this up a little bit. All right, so Asensio out. Yeah, Dumfries is here right now. Yeah, that looks pretty decent. Joseph Martinez is also on the chopping block. I hope we get more clarification on Inter Milan's starting 11. If we do get that predicted lineup, that might make the final decision for me. So I'm going to have a quick look at Inter Milan's Twitter pages and see if there's anything. Yeah, no Sky Sports Italia predicted 11, unfortunately. So yeah, we do have over 1,000 people watching. Drop a like. Let's get this to over 300. The likes to viewer ratio could be much better, to say the least. Thank you to those that send in super chats, who have put in live chats, comments, all of that good stuff. The channel members and patrons, I will give you a shout out towards the end of the stream as well. And I'll be gifting 5 memberships. I almost forgot. So I'm going to give 5 now. And if we hit our super chat goal, I'll be gifting another 5 after the deadline has passed. So let's see who ends up getting it. At least these 5 memberships, they're completely random. So Baraf, enjoy the membership. The same goes for Primsy, Arda Merich, Death, and Natalie S. So enjoy the super chats, the memberships. I think Natalie has got one before, not to make anyone feel jealous. Summer's back right. He's in the squad. That doesn't mean he's definitely going to start, but by match day 12, I don't expect Jose Martinez to start the second leg, which is a big shame, unfortunately. He was a massive differential. He still is, but he might not be worth the investment in the end. So I think what I might end up doing as well, and this could end up backfiring big time. Kobel gets a penalty save, a clean sheet, and a 15-pointer. I could go for Courtois. Hear me out. They are top of the clean sheet odds, according to fantasyfootballpundit.com. And we can also go for Szczesny. That is something I'm considering. Let me know in the live chat, say yes or no, if you think those are good transfers in the goalkeeper position. Afterwards, I'll be talking about my plans to replace Marco Asensio. I prefer Grimaldo over Van Dijk because of the attacking threat. Yeah, no one from PSG. I'm backing Liverpool to win, especially in the second leg, but Dembele, Hakimi, Pacho, Marquinhos, Nuno Mendes, Barcola, even Kvaratskhelia, they're all good options. My favourites would be Dembele and Hakimi. If there was one to enter my final team, it's going to be Dembele, I think. But yeah, that's not locked in anyway. There's still a lot of time left to think, overthink, and make some big mistakes as well. Anish says, goalkeeper Kobel, defence De Vrij, Gabriel Schlotterbeck, Salah, Olmo, Rafinha, Tielemans, Adeyemi, Vinicius, captain Pavlidis, Sommer, Lewandowski, Inigo Martinez, Grimaldo. Yeah, solid squad overall. I really like the look of it. Just some things to consider, though, is I prefer just my personal opinion, I do prefer other forwards than Pavlidis this week. I know he scored a hat-trick against Barcelona recently, but without Di Maria, even Florentino Luis is a massive miss there from a defensive perspective, so I think Barcelona could really take advantage and build a comfortable lead, even in Portugal. But yeah, that is something I am also looking at. Midfield I really like. Tielemans is a nice differential on the Tuesday. You've also got a nice balance between Tuesday, Wednesday overall, which I also think is very good. But I think Guirassy in for Pavlidis would help you even more in terms of achieving that kind of decent balance there. A lot of people saying no to the Szczesny and Courtois things. I completely get that. I think Szczesny's already putting people off, but it's kind of a long-term play, I think. I think that's... If I'm building a team now with no wildcard in my back pocket, I would recommend Courtois and Szczesny as one of the goalkeeper pairings you can go for until the end of the tournament. But yeah, with Anish's team, De Vrij to Dumfries, I think is a bit safer to start, so I'd recommend that possible change. Gabriel is fine as one Arsenal defender, even a double up in Dortmund defensively for the round of 16. Beyond that, I wouldn't recommend it. So yeah, just a few minor nitpicks. With Sommer, and the same goes for Josep Martinez, that could end up in tears. You know, you might have a goalkeeper who doesn't start in matchday 11. So yeah, difficult one to say. We had a similar situation in matchday 9 where it was Carnesecchi. He was doubtful for matchday 9 and he ended up travelling, but it was still Rui Patricio starting the first game against Club Brugge, and in the end it was Carnesecchi starting the second leg. So I'd rather avoid that situation if possible. That's why I am considering a goalkeeper change. So some things to think about there for you, Anish. Let me know what you're thinking about. I wouldn't go for Merino personally, no. If you are backing Arsenal, then Trossard, Wanyeri, Merino are decent, but they haven't scored in the last 2 games, and the Arsenal attack is terrible. Fair enough. Adedayo says, Wojciech no, Courtois yeah. So yeah, kind of mixed bag here. Henry Bush says yes. Villainy X says yes. FP Oliver says no. Hoping this matchday not as bad as the last one. Yeah, also matchday 9 was probably the worst for me because of the 15-20 point swing from my late transfers. Sometimes that happens in UCL Fantasy. Welcome, Bello. The fact someone has travelled and trained tells me he starts doesn't make any sense other way. It does seem like they're rushing him, though. He just had thumb surgery. I know it's only a thumb, but for a goalkeeper, that's quite important, isn't it? So, yeah, it's that's why I'm looking at making a goalkeeper move. It's a shame. Is Club Brugge not being overlooked? Yeah, I think they are. That's a really good point. Jutla up front would be a nice differential on the Tuesday, but would I go from over Guirassy? No, I wouldn't, but someone to consider. Zolis is in good form, although he is a suspension risk. Micheli is a ball recovery machine, so at the back he could be worth considering. But yeah, I think Club Brugge can win the first leg. You'd still expect Aston Villa to win overall, but look what they did to Atalanta, winning 5-2 on aggregate, both matches as well. I don't think Club Brugge are a terrible side. Their overall form isn't great, 3 wins out of the last 10 games, but in the Champions League they've done fairly well. Hi, is Jonathan David a good pick? Yes, he is. If I'm kind of ranking the Tuesday strikers, yeah, Jonathan David would be up there. So for matchday 11, you'd still favour Watkins, maybe Jutla over him, but over both legs, I think Jonathan David is a very decent pick. Oh, same here, Lee. I don't rule out Atletico, but their record against Real Madrid in the Champions League is terrible. I also think that is a big thing. Champions League, Real Madrid, it's a different beast entirely, and I'm just backing Madrid to win, but Atletico aren't a terrible team. In fact, they're probably the better side right now. Thinking Mignolet, captain Bruges, to replace Sommer. Yeah, I think they could keep a clean sheet here. It was 1-0 earlier this season against Aston Villa, but from my perspective and predicting the game, I do think Aston Villa score. And in terms of Tuesday goalkeepers, yeah, so let me just go back to your other super chat. So give me a second. So you've got Kobel. Yeah, I wouldn't replace Sommer with Mignolet. I wouldn't do that because he plays on the same day as Kobel. You want to have a Tuesday goalkeeper and a Wednesday option. So if that's the case, I think Kobel is fine on the Tuesday. Then you go for Alisson or Szczesny on the Wednesday, bearing in mind that if you go for Szczesny, that could cause a clash in the quarterfinals. But I wouldn't go for Mignolet to replace Jan Sommer. Yeah, so the goalkeeper situation at Inter Milan is that Josep Martinez has started the last few games. He's played very well. But Jan Sommer has travelled with the squad. He has taken part in full training. So we don't know for sure who's going to start. I mean, most people would anticipate Sommer with that information. I'd rather avoid it if possible, so I think Joseph Martinez will be sold. Well, Konate offers good value, but he's injury prone. I think he is very injury prone compared to Van Dijk, and in terms of goal threat, I would favour the Dutchman. Rodgers or Kokchu? Rodgers, and also Kokchu is slightly doubtful if I'm not mistaken. Is Timber a good pick? Yes, but I'd rather go for Gabriel and Saliba. Yeah, Brahim Diaz is a differential. I think my favourite Madrid players are either Vinicius or Mbappe up front, and then Courtois in goal. I wouldn't go for anybody else, but Diaz has been in decent form. He also scored against Man City at the Etihad, so not a terrible pick, but yeah, not for me. Thanks, that makes sense. Going Alisson. Yeah, so the Alisson one, I think that's a great pick long term. I think Liverpool reached the semi-finals, and I think a clean sheet at Anfield in matchday 12 is likely. So it might not be great for this week, but long term, I think going Alisson is a great move. Trent over Van Dijk. I'm not opposed to it. Let's put it that way. But in UCL Fantasy, I think Van Dijk is slightly better than Trent Alexander-Arnold. Is Adeyemi starting with high certainty? Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, it's actually Gittins who is the bigger rotation risk. I'd go for Guirassy over Adeyemi there, but remember, they are different positions. Friendly reminder, Vinicius has never scored against Atletico Madrid. There is a first time for everything, to be fair, and despite his woeful Champions League form, his woeful La Liga form, he's been very good in this competition. Is that Lautaro Martinez? There's a lot of Martinez's about. There's also Josep in goal. Yes, I'm considering him, but I'm fairly happy with this forward line. I'm not going to lie to you. But there could be a change to the captaincy, and there's also a few other things to kind of tweak. So yeah, my favourite Tuesday captains are Guirassy, and then probably a Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid attacker. So I'd say Mbappe, Vinicius, or Alvarez. My top two would be Guirassy and Mbappe. For the Wednesday, Rafinha and Lewandowski. Olmo's a decent shout, but his minutes are far from secure. I'd rather avoid it. It's also similar with the Asensio thing. And that's why I was never settled on having Marco Asensio. Yeah, Liverpool could be knocked out. I mean, PSG have won 10 consecutive games. They're unbeaten since late November. I think PSG could win the first leg, but over both of them, I still think Liverpool are the better side. Thoughts on Talbi and Lautaro? Yeah, Talbi offers a decent Tuesday option. Lautaro is facing a decimated Feyenoord defence. He scored a hat-trick in matchday 8 against Monaco, so it's a decent shout. I'd be more keen on Lautaro Martinez. Hola Dylan, Kim Min-jae or Grimaldo? ¿A quién eliges? Grimaldo. You're captaining Mbappe. It's not locked in. I've mentioned this all week. I might go for Guirassy in the end. Your thoughts? Out Watkins, Musiala, Konsa, Joseph Martinez. In Lautaro Martinez, Asensio, Saliba, Alisson. I do prefer the Lautaro, Saliba, Alisson route, but don't go for Asensio. He's benched unless you think he's going to score off the bench. In that case, do what you want, but I wouldn't be going for Asensio. No. We cannot predict what happens in UCL knockouts. Well, you can predict. You might get some things right, and then you might get other things horribly wrong, like Atalanta versus Club Brugge in the knockout playoff rounds. Eliseo Musiala, you can see on screen who I got. That's my preference. I prefer Elise. Adeyemi or Wirtz? For matchday 11, it's Adeyemi. Long term, Wirtz is the better asset. He's right up there amongst the best in the game. Van Dijk or Bastoni? I'd say Van Dijk. Long term anyway. For matchday 11, different story, but long term, I'm backing Liverpool to go quite far. So, let's see. There's a lot of things to kind of lock in. The lineups were covered earlier, by the way, for Aston Villa Club Brugge. Asensio's on the bench. That's the main one to look out for. That means I'll be making a late change. And also a poll is coming your way. So we are close to the Super Chat goal, and we just got another one in. So thank you very much to Anish. Massively appreciated. How about Rashford? Does he look like a good one? My main issue of Rashford is he's classified as a forward. His minutes aren't going to be secure, which would have been the case for Asensio as well. When you've got Guirassy, Pavlidis, Mbappe, Alvarez, Vinicius, Lewandowski, Lautaro Martinez, and even more where that came from, I just wouldn't go for Rashford. I could be wrong about this. He might score a goal or two, get an assist. He's been in quite good form, actually. He's getting a lot of assists off the bench in the last couple of games, but because he's a forward, I wouldn't go there. So my favourite Aston Villa assets would be, I think Rodgers, Tielemans and Watkins. And I think Watkins is still above Rashford in the pecking order, but he's not a terrible shout, don't get me wrong. Thank you, Anish, for becoming a differential. Massively appreciated. All the best for Matchday 11 and the rest of the tournament. Always keep your eyes peeled for FPL and UCL Fantasy content. You will get early access to my videos by being a member, and I'll be gifting fan memberships towards the end of the stream if we hit our Super Chat goal and once the deadline has closed. Okay, so poll time. And if you've got any other ideas for polls or you really want something answered and have the community vote, then let me know in the live chat. So which of these midfielders do you prefer? That's what I'm going to put. So let's put Rodgers, Dembele. Let's put Wirtz. And I can only put one more option. Yeah. Who else would I put here? Çalhanoğlu? Çalhanoğlu's not a bad one. I think he could be quite underrated. He is a slight doubt, but yeah. So sort out this chat. Okay. Let's put Çalhanoğlu. Deserves a bit more love, I think. So be sure to cast your vote. Also, let me know your thoughts in the live chat. And let's see what else we've got. Hey Dylan, not backing Dembele. In the first leg, Dembele can do very well, and he's got 18 goals in 2025. It's just Liverpool, for me, are the best club side in the world right now, or at least right up there. I think they're in the top three for sure. And I think over both legs, Liverpool will go through. Because I've got the wild card, I don't need to worry about that too much, so I can go for Dembele. And that's one of my considerations, actually, to replace Marco Asensio. And he's currently winning the vote. I'll go back to that very soon. Adeyemi or Rodgers as an Asensio replacement. Adeyemi for me, Simon. Rojas says, Hola Dylan, ¿a quién prefieres entre Talbi, Guarnieri o Trossard para hoy? O sin duda alguna alguien de Borussia Dortmund es mejor? Sí, para mí Adeyemi es el mejor del martes. También está Gittins, que no empezó los últimos dos partidos, pero tiene mucho potencial. Y el otro es Pascal Gross de Borussia Dortmund. Sí, mi recomendación sería Adeyemi. Best assets in Bayern Munich Leverkusen match. So from Bayern Munich, it's going to be Elise, Kane, Kim Min-jae. From Bayer Leverkusen, it's going to be the same names as always. Wirtz, Grimaldo, and Frimpong. I'd argue Grimaldo's first, but that's definitely debatable. Those are the options I'd consider. I think Çalhanoğlu will start, but he is doubtful. Yes. Hussein says Talbi. Fair enough. FP Oliver says Rodgers. ES says Kunde or Grimaldo. Grimaldo. Lars says Olmo. I was thinking about putting him in there, but I think as bad as Benfica are in terms of their injuries, I do think Rafinha and Lewandowski is still more than enough, but having a third could be a nice differential. Yamal says one-side game. Yeah, maybe deserves more love. He's a top talent. Best inter-defender, Dumfries. Just bear in mind with Dumfries, he's one yellow card away from suspension. Saksham says Diaz, Vitinha by Miguel. Not bad. What are your thoughts on What are your thoughts on Lautaro Martinez as a differential over Mbappe Vinicius? I'm considering it. I think the reason why I'll likely go for a Madrid attacker is because of the Tuesday-Wednesday balance. It's bad enough as it is for me. If I end up going for a Dembele or Wirtz to replace Asensio, I'll have 6 Tuesday players and 9 on the Wednesday. So then by going for Lautaro Martinez as well, that will turn into 5 to 10. Look, you ultimately want to pick the best players in UCL Fantasy, but that is not a good balance in my opinion for Matchday 11. So yeah, other than Dumfries, Bastoni to be safe. He could play left wing back as well with all the injuries. That might not be a great thing. Yeah, I just mentioned that with Rashford, mate. He's classified as a forward. I don't think he's worth it over the others. Thank you, Nehal, for the super chat. De Vrij, Bastoni or Dumfries, best inter-defender. Dumfries first. I think Bastoni second and De Vrij third. Now, if I knew for sure De Vrij would start in Matchday 11 and 12, I think he might even be first. But there are some rumours and predicted lineups. I don't know exactly from where, but I have seen some or heard of some that have De Vrij on the bench. So if we actually go to UEFA.com now and see if there's any anything that they provide. So, yeah, for Inter Milan, Feyenoord. So, yeah, they've gone for Joseph Martinez in goal, Pavard, Acerbi, Bastoni, Bissek, Dumfries, Barella, Kalinoglu, Mkhitaryan, Lautaro Martinez, and Thuram. So they don't have De Vrij in that predicted lineup. So, yeah, Dumfries would be my first pick, Bastoni second. And look, they might get it wrong, and maybe De Vrij starts. He's a very good UCL fantasy asset, but yeah, I'd probably just play it safe and go for Dumfries. Luis Diaz countering Hakimi's out of position. Well, Diaz could play up front rather than on the left. That all depends on if Jota starts or if they go for Curtis Jones. And in that case, he'd be on the left, and then Diaz would be up front. But that might be something worth considering. The thing is, though, yeah, you might be able to capitalize on Hakimi being out of position, but what about the other way? Hakimi can still pose a lot of danger. Best keepers, if Joseph Martinez starts, which is a big if now, I think he's my favourite Wednesday goalkeeper. But if you are looking long-term, I would probably say Courtois and Szczesny. That would be my favourite goalkeeper pairing. I'm not too worried or fussed about it because I've got the wild card. So I might just go for Kobel. And then on the Wednesday, I think I'll just go in a different direction. But it's a good question. I think it does depend on chip strategy. Would you pick forwards from the game of PSV Arsenal? I think it'll be low scoring, but from PSV, Perisic is the best option. Luke de Jong isn't too shabby. You've also got Bakayoko if he starts. His minutes have been all over the place recently. From Arsenal, you've got Marino, Trossard, and Wanyeri. I think my favourite... Well, Wanyeri always looks the most threatening, so I think Wanyeri might be my favourite, to be fair. Marino's playing out of position in that number 9 spot, but he's not a striker. So, difficult one to say. But yeah, PSV Arsenal, it was 4-0 at the Emirates last time out, and then 1-1 in Eindhoven when Arsenal rotated quite a lot last season. They also faced each other the year before that in the Europa League. Arsenal won 1-0 at the Emirates and then lost 2-0 in Eindhoven. I think the Champions League record is in Arsenal's favour, but it's not an easy one. I'd rather avoid the fixture from an attacking perspective. Thank you, Rojas. Yeah, Mbappe's got much better form than Vinicius Jr. That's why I prefer him. It can go either way. De Vrij to start versus Feyenoord. Let me know where you got that from, but I would appreciate a link. Let's also go back to my team for now. So we do have just over 45 minutes. So let's be sure to lock in our teams, have everything ready. But I'm going to check Inter Milan's different pages again and see if they've got anything. No, they don't. What about Sky Italia? Yeah, unfortunately, I can't find any predicted lineup by Sky Italia, who typically are very reliable when it comes to Inter Milan. If you do have a link, drop in the live chat and I'll have a look and we can see what's happening. Yeah, I'd just go for Dumfries personally. He is a suspension risk, but De Vrij is more likely to be benched. Do you think Arsenal will advance? I'm not confident. I don't know. I don't think PSV are a great side and they could win today. I think they will, but they're not a great side. I think Arsenal, if they were in a healthy position, they'd pretty much easily win, but it's going to be difficult for them. You hit 10 out of 10, thank you. That probably means we've missed a super chat. So let's see what else we've got. Yeah, so Jimmy Vega says, got Yamal, Rafinha, Lewandowski, but seems overkill. I don't think it's... I get what you're saying. I think 2 is enough, but a differential, and to separate yourself from the rest of the crowd, is to go for a third, either Olmo or Yamal. So I don't think it's terrible. And with Benfica's injuries, Florentino Luis is a massive miss, and they rarely keep clean sheets without him. I think Barcelona will score 3 or 4 goals, so having 3 of their attackers is sound. I'm probably going to stick with Rafinha and Lewandowski, to be honest, but having a third in Yamal or Olmo is absolutely fine. Wouldn't De Vrij start since DeMarco's injured? Yeah, good question. I mean, the thing is, DeMarco's a left wing back, De Vrij is a centre-half by trade, and there are rumours that Bastoni will play left wing back, and if that's the case, you would think, well, De Vrij should start centre-back, right? Alongside Bissek or Acerbi, maybe Pavard. It all depends on who's available, but Inter Milan have a lot of squad depth in their centre-back area, so I don't think it's absolutely guaranteed. Now, throughout the week, I've been bigging up De Vrij. I think he's a great UCL fantasy choice, but on Twitter and also people in the live chat here today, just occasionally I've seen people say, "Oh, De Vrij might be benched," and also several sources and stuff on Twitter, and I'm not sure what to make of it, but it's something worth bearing in mind. To be safer, I think going for a Dumfries or Bastoni is probably the best bet. The problem with Dumfries is he's got the suspension risk. Bastoni might be the safest overall. Do you know if Teller is a defender? Nathan Teller? I don't think he is, no. I'll double check that for you, though. Let's see if I'm wrong about this. Yeah, he's a midfielder. And actually, he could play up front for Bayer Leverkusen. He would be out of position. So yeah, he's classified as a midfielder. Is Elise essential? No. Will you keep Asensio or change him? I'm definitely changing him. Don't worry about that. It's just, yeah, I've been answering different questions and trying to see if I've got any like league lineups or predicted 11s for tomorrow, especially with Inter Milan, which is very important because Joseph Martinez could also be sold for me. So let's now go to the transfer section again and let's see what we can do to fix things here. It's just a shame about Joseph Martinez. I really want to double up on Inter Milan defensively. And I could still do it by going for Bastoni. But, yeah, it's not ideal. Yeah. Dembele or Barcola? Dembele. Courtois, Szczesny to Kobel, Alisson for me. Yeah, I think for matchday 11, Kobel's got the best chance of a clean sheet out of the four. The odds do back Courtois, though, and Real Madrid. Yeah, once again, this has been covered all week, and even in the stream as well. Mbappe's got better form. He's got 10 goals in the last 10 games. Vinicius has been poor. There's not much separating them, so if you want to go Vinicius, go for it, but I'm going for Vinicius for Mbappe right now. There's not much in it. Is it worth to buy Sommer anyway? If we knew for sure he starts, then yes. You've got a long-term goalkeeper potentially. Even against Bayern Munich or Leverkusen in the quarterfinals, I think Inter Milan could keep a clean sheet. So, yeah, it's just very difficult for me to say with Joseph Martinez or Sommer because we don't know who's going to start. Which two goalkeepers recommended? That's one of my biggest issues now. We're back in matchday 9 all over again. I think long-term Courtois and Szczesny is a very good goalkeeper pairing. You've also got Kobel and Alisson, which might not be as long-term, especially in the case of Kobel, but that looks pretty good for matchday 11. Adeyemi captain for me, because why not? Rafinha on the 5th for safety. Exactly that. You can go differential with the captaincy on the Tuesday. There's nothing wrong with it. Yo quité a Kobel para colocar a David Raya para poner a Adeyemi. Sí, está bien. Estaba pensando en algo parecido, pero no me gusta mucho David Raya a largo plazo. Pero tenemos muchos problemas con los arqueros ahora. Con Joseph Martinez y Sommer, no sabemos quién va a empezar. Así que va a ser difícil. Take Van Dijk out, go Bastoni and Alisson. Yeah, that is a good point. Not a huge fan of Alisson overall, but that is something that's also crossed my mind, yeah. It's just, I think maybe the wild card in my back pocket has kind of, how do I say this? It might cause a bit of confusion for me because I've got some good long-term picks, but I also just want to tackle what's right in front of me. And Alisson is not my favourite goalkeeper for match days 11 and 12. He's kind of a long-term pick until the end of the tournament, essentially. Brahim Diaz is decent, but not my favourite Madrid attacker. Mbappe Vinicius double up? No, not for me. Fast defender? Koundé or Inigo Martinez. You've also got Szczesny in goal at 4 million. That's my favourite way of covering Barcelona defensively. But yeah, they're all decent. Dembele's not out. I never said that. What about Watkins? Good option, but on the Tuesday, Guirassi's my favourite Tuesday forward alongside Mbappe and Vinicius. But yeah, I think Watkins will be slightly lower down. 30% odds for buying clean sheet. Best buying pick, Kim Min-jae still. Talbi, Vanaken or Zolis? Well, Vanaken got 12 points against Aston Villa earlier this season. They kind of share the goals overall. I'd lean towards Vanaken, but there's not much in it. Yeah, I just mentioned it with in Spanish. I mean, with Raya, I'm not a huge fan of him long term. You know, I've got the wild card. Yeah, fair enough. It's not a big deal. But I've got Gabriel already. I don't want to double up on Arsenal defensively. So if I were to go for Raya, it would then mean Gabriel to let's say Bastoni, but then that means an extra Wednesday player and one less on the Tuesday. So that's why I'm not really too keen. How much do you think about the early kickoffs? Well, I was looking to get Marco Asensio or Rodgers, and that could still happen, but yeah, first game info can be great, but that won't be the case in Matchday 12, and I do think Club Brugge can win the first leg. They did win 1-0 earlier this season. Tienes a Olise y Grimaldo, juega mañana por lo que queda, por lo que no puedes cambiarlos, esperas muchos goles. Yo puse 2-1 Bayern Múnich para el primer partido, pero Grimaldo tiene la potencial de anotar goles, también crear asistencias, así que no me molesta tener ambos, pero entiendo tu pregunta. No es ideal tener un defensor contra un mediocampista del mismo equipo cuando están jugando en contra de ellos mismos. Gabriel o Koundé? Gabriel. Alvarez or Guirassy? I'd go for Guirassy. Can you give the 3 best mids from the Tuesday? Adeyemi, I think Rodgers, and I'd go for Gross, I think. Yeah, it's between him and Gittins, who is less likely to start. But yeah, that's my top 3. Yeah, Brahim Diaz is fine. I mean, I don't know what more I can say. Kobo and Neuer as my 2 goalkeepers. Decent. I'll be honest, though. I think Kobo goes through to the quarterfinals, and then will get knocked out by Barcelona. That's my prediction. And with Neuer, I'm not sure if Bayern Munich go through to the next round. And even if they do, they've got Inter Milan waiting for them. So I'd maybe recommend a different goalkeeper, particularly on the Wednesday. But they're decent options overall. What do you think of Trossard as a differential captain for today? I think having an Arsenal attacker is already bad enough. Captaining them, not for me. I wouldn't recommend it. But there have been worse picks overall. And you've got the Wednesday options to fall back on. Yeah, Ahmed, the lineups were covered already. We'll go through them one more time just for those that are tuning in late. But yeah, these are the formations as well. The big news is that Marco Asensio is benched. But Rashford is classified as a forward in this game. I'm not too keen on him compared to the other forwards. I'm not sure, talking ball, but I wouldn't recommend copying just to anybody who is waiting for that. Grimaldo or Rudiger? Grimaldo. Is Chan better than Schlotterbeck? Not for me. Otherwise, I wouldn't go for Schlotterbeck or recommend him in all my videos. Hey Dylan, why go Wirtz? Or why no Wirtz? Well, there's still a chance he makes it into my final team, but he's got 1 goal, 1 assist against Bayern Munich in 11 appearances throughout his career. He's also got 1 goal in the last 7 matches in all competitions, so he's not in the best of form. There's also a lot of rumours about Wirtz going to Bayern Munich this summer. I'm not saying that will play a big part and cause him to be distracted, but it's not really the kind of noise you want to hear before a big Champions League game. There was something similar with Mario Götze against Bayern Munich over a decade ago at this point. Yeah, Olmo, minutes aren't really secure. Decent option, but I think there are better options elsewhere. I think Rafinha and Lewandowski are by far the best Barcelona attackers. Haribo says, hi Dylan, do we know why De Vrij is not in UEFA predicted lineup? Do you think he will start? Well, all week I thought he would start, which is why I talked about him a lot. He was in my first draft video. But yeah, UEFA.com aren't the only website, I think, to have not put him in the 11. So I'm not exactly sure why that would be. But I just think with all the players coming back in the centre-half position, they've got a lot of options there, like Bisek, Bastoni, who could play left wing-back in this game. You've also got Pavard. So it's not a guarantee that De Vrij starts. But yeah, I think he will. But because there are some doubts about it, I'd rather just go for someone a bit safer like Bastoni or Dumfries. Ivan says, Dylan, Pavard used to play as a right-back too during his Bayern days, I think. Yeah, but not as a right wing-back, which is slightly different, but you are right. That could be where he plays tomorrow night or tomorrow evening. Bastoni might stay at centre-back, and also I think Martinez keeps his place for the first leg only. Yeah, which isn't great anyway, because I'd rather wildcard in matchday 13 or 15. But yeah, I think Martinez could start the first leg still. And that could be great, but long-term, it's just kind of a transfer waiting to happen, which is a big shame. Is Pavard safe for both match days 11 and 12? I'm not sure if he's safe for both of them, but he should start one of them for sure. I think he starts in match day 11, but I couldn't tell you for match day 12 as well. Who do you think? Who do you prefer long-term, Alisson or Szczesny? Well, Barcelona have a great route to the Champions League final. There's no denying that. But even Liverpool, after PSG, if they were to beat them, is Club Brugge or Aston Villa. They would be massive favourites. I think Alisson, just about. But the reason why I've talked about, for those that are looking for goalkeepers, I'd recommend Courtois and Szczesny, is because they can only face each other in the Champions League final, and they won't face each other in the round of 16, well, in the quarterfinals or semi-finals as well. What about Adeyemi captain as a differential? Fine. You've always got the Wednesday option to fall back on if needed, so I think that's a good choice. I mentioned it in my team selection video. Why not Hakimi? I think Liverpool win. I think they win across both legs. They might lose or draw the first one, but yeah, Hakimi is a great option. I've mentioned him a lot of times across all my videos, but you just can't have them all. Bastoni or Pavard? Bastoni. I wouldn't go for Trossard personally, but it's up to you. De Vrij didn't start an important game against Napoli, so UEFA could be right. Yeah, but having said that, maybe he didn't start that game to be rested for this. We just don't know for sure, but the fact he didn't start such a crucial game is quite concerning. Thoughts on Yamal? Good option, but there are better picks in that Barcelona midfield and attack, like Rafinha, Lewandowski. Yeah, Emre Can should start tonight. We covered the lineups earlier, or predicted lineups anyway. Yeah, I think Liverpool go through, but I'm not really too bothered anyway about, long-term picks anyway, because I've got the wild card. But let's see. What I might end up doing is kind of sticking with these goalkeepers, Cobo and Martinez, which could be a massive mistake, and then just focusing on replacing Marco Asensio. And I could go for Florian Wirtz, maybe Dembele. But some tough calls need to be made. I do think Van Dijk's a great choice long-term, I really do. And I think a clean sheet in Matchday 12 is maybe likely. But for Matchday 11, looking just at this one, I am considering Van Dijk to Bastoni. I am tempted by such a switch, and then I can go for Dembele for Wirtz. That's a pretty decent way of structuring things. Thoughts on Talibi as a differential? I'm not against it. I think on Tuesday he's one of the better Club Brugge options, but they do rotate quite a lot. Stefano, I couldn't tell you. That's why I'm considering selling Joseph Martinez. But Sommer did travel, so it's not great news. I would go for an Inter defender there, Mr. Alex. Mbappe captain, that's currently my pick, but I might end up going for Guirassy. Odegaard, good pick. Not at the moment for me. Atletico's penalty taker is Griezmann. Alvarez took the last one, and he chipped it against Real Madrid. I do think Alvarez might be first choice now. Griezmann probably second in command, but I think it's probably best to ask an Atletico Madrid fan in the chat. I'll see who took the last one, because that could be quite useful information. All right. So only half an hour left, and this part of the deadline stream typically goes very quickly. So yeah, let's see if we can lock things in time. But let's have a quick look at Atletico Madrid and see. I'm pretty sure Alvarez is their first choice penalty taker now. Yeah, well, the last penalty they had was against Real Madrid. Alvarez took it. I think Griezmann was on the pitch as well. So, yeah, he was. So, yeah, Alvarez is the main one. Yeah, Lautaro's a good option. It's just, once again, if I were to sell Mbappe or Guirassy to Lautaro, it means another Wednesday player. I've already got an imbalance as it is. And I don't think there's a massive difference. If anything, I do prefer Guirassy and Mbappe over Lautaro overall. So, yeah, great option. If you want to take a punt, I think Feyenoord are worth targeting because they've got so many injuries. I think 15 players are unavailable for them. Wirtz or Musiala? Florian Wirtz. Yeah, Alvarez Penaked versus Courtois, so I'll bet my house he takes it. Yeah, I also think he will. I just think, kind of historically, Griezmann has been a decent penalty taker. No hablo tan bien el español. ¿Por qué hablas tan perfectamente? Yo hablo español en casa, pero tío, la verdad, mi inglés es mucho mejor, pero gracias. Chan or Schlotterbeck? Schlotterbeck for me. Raya and Szczesny. Yeah, that's a good goalkeeper pairing. It's just with Raya, if Arsenal go through against PSV, which is a big if in my opinion, they would face Real Madrid or Atletico. So long term, I do think Raya is a transfer waiting to happen. Yeah, possibly Nico, possibly. And that's what I mean when people do ask about, what about Lautaro? Yeah, good option, but I'm not going to go for him over Lewandowski. and then removing a Tuesday option like Garassi doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I'll be honest, I think a lot of the best options are on the Wednesday, and that's ultimately the most important thing. You pick the players you think will score points, but in terms of substitutions, you are kind of leaving yourself short a little bit by having too many Wednesday players. If I were to go for this, that means 6 Tuesday, 9 Wednesday. Not great. And that's where a Club Brugge, Aston Villa, maybe Arsenal midfielder could come in handy. I'm not too sure about that, to be fair. I'm really not. But for inverts, great option overall. I'm not so sure about him in matchday 11, though. Yeah, Kobo and Szczesny, they could face each other in the quarterfinals. Bear that in mind. If you're happy with that, it's a good goalkeeper pairing for the round of 16. I never sold Alisson, Michi. I never sold him. In the best team, so that was a team specifically designed for people without the wild card who just need long-term options, I recommended Alisson as a Wednesday goalkeeper. The other one was Szczesny. But in my squad, I've always had Kobo and Joseph Martinez, which was covered in my first draft and team selection videos. Yamal or Olmo? Slight preference for Yamal, just because of minutes. I do like the double into defense. That's why I've got Joseph Martinez in goal, but he is a bit of a doubt now with Sommer back in the mix. Well, you can, Zodiac, you can. Needs to be 8-7. It doesn't need to be. It's ideal. But let's not forget, there's also matchday 12 where it reverses. So if you've got 8 Tuesday players now, it'll be 7 on the Wednesday, which is manageable. You can easily get to 8 or 9 Tuesday with transfers, but you can't just think about all of that. Yeah, UCL Fantasy streams typically are, yeah, it's now 1.7k. It's quite kind of crazy. We got a lot of questions in. People want to lock in their teams and see what the best squad is for UCL Fantasy. I get it. So if you haven't already, then drop a like. It'd be greatly appreciated. We have answered hundreds of questions. I say we like I'm Venom, but I know that's a bad habit of mine. And yeah, just subscribe to the channel. We are getting closer towards new goals. 33k is the next one on the horizon. And in terms of this stream, we've actually got, yeah, I think over 100 subscribers throughout the, 2 hours we've been live. So thank you very much. I'll use the, yeah, when I say we, it's just like, viewer and creator kind of symbiosis, not Venom. Yamal or Verts, floor inverts for me. Watkins is a good option, but on the Tuesday, I prefer Garassi and one of Mbappe or Vinicius. Yeah, look, they're not terrible options, and Arsenal could finally click. I'll start celebrating and then, living on copium and hopium again. I'm just not a big fan of Wanyeri and Trossard. If I were to go there myself, it's just because I support the club. That's it. We got 3 subs and our wild card. Yeah, look, like I said, it's easily manageable there, but my point is you can't fully focus on it. It's worth considering, which is why I always try to bring it up and make people aware of it, but ultimately you don't want to be kind of like bound by that structure. You also want to pick the players you think are going to do well. Garassi or Adeyemi for captain? Garassi. Anida asked something slightly similar. I'd go for Garassi again. Mbappe, Garassi, Vinicius, or Mbappe, Garassi, Icardi? There's no Icardi in Champions League, mate. But yeah, it would be, well, Vinicius. Yeah, because Vinicius is in the competition. Coutinho or Rodgers? Rodgers. Why Mbappe or Vinicius? I've been asked this a lot of times. He's got the better form. I don't want to repeat myself too much. Verts or Dembele? I'll be honest, that's a really tricky one. I think for matchday 11 only, it'd be Dembele, but longer term, I just like Verts. I really do. So it's a really tricky one, actually. I mean, all week I've been on Verts, so that'd be my slight preference right now, but that could change, Despite the injury woes for Feyenoord, Inter might still win 1-0. Yeah, and Inter also have a lot of injury problems themselves, especially at the back. I have FOMO for not having Verts, same here. He is a template pick, but if you want to go a bit different, it's a nice way of kind of differentiating yourself from the crowd, should I say. Yeah, Mr. Alex, I think that's decent. It's not, like, I always try to recommend having more Tuesday players, but I think Wednesday has better options this time round. So, yeah, that's fine. And I might end up doing something similar if I end up going for, let's say, Rodgers and, these Tuesday options in the midfield. Maybe I go for an Arsenal asset and let the delusion take over me. But yeah, interesting times ahead. I think I'm going to make a change here and see what we can do. So I think Verts in. Late changes and me are probably not the best mix in UCL Fantasy, but I am thinking about something like this. So Wirtz in for Asensio, Alisson replacing Joseph Martinez, and then going for Bastoni for Virgil van Dijk. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. I might even just go for Wojciech Szczesny. If I look at the Wednesday options in goal, I don't see many clean sheets, but we always get some surprises in there. So with this poll, Dembele is winning relatively comfortably with 36% of the vote. Wirtz is second. Then you've got Rodgers in third, and Calhanoglu is just way off it. But yeah, 1.7k votes. A lot of you have posted your thoughts, basically. I'm going to end this one, I think, and I'm going to put a goalkeeper poll. But I think one of Dembele or Wirtz are the most likely to come in from the Wednesday options in that midfield. And from the Tuesday, I'm looking at Rodgers. Maybe I'd take a bit of a punt on Club Brugge or Arsenal, but that isn't entirely settled just yet. Not a big fan of Odegaard personally, but I really hope he does well. Thank you to Benji, Rudiger and Emi Martinez, or Konsa and Courtois. I'd rather go for Rudiger and Emi Martinez, I think. But that is a very close one. That could go either way, and it's basically just like, do you go for Aston Villa defensively with a goalkeeper or defender? Same with Real Madrid, to be fair. Yeah, look, Esteban, it's not like it's terrible having 6 Tuesday, 9 Wednesday, but essentially, your substitutions won't be as important or as impactful because if you, let's say, have 9 Tuesday players, most of your players would have featured and you will know your lowest scoring players, you can take them out, and you've still got plenty left on the Wednesday to kind of make up for it, and you've got a great chance of your whole starting 11 scoring points. But there's no exact science to it. You could have 3 Tuesday players and then 12 on the Wednesday and still do really well. But in terms of substitutions, they're not going to be as impactful, in my opinion, and you might have a few kind of dilemmas going into the Wednesday. That's just the way I see it, but we all have our own opinions. Inter midfielder would be Calhanoglu, but he is slightly doubtful. He should start. He has travelled, but he had a little injury concern recently. He's on penalties. That's why he's my favourite. Did I miss a super chat? I might have. So yeah, Benji's was covered. Yeah, reluctantly, very close. I'd go for Rudiger and Emi Martinez. So yeah, we are up to date here with the super chats. That's good to see. Thank you to the new members as well. I gifted 5 early in the stream, and after the deadline has passed, I'll be gifting 5 more. So stay tuned, and you've got a chance of gaining early access to my videos amongst many other perks. I'm scared of 4 Dortmund players. I get it. It's kind of like a personal thing of mine because I've got the wild card, and I think in the round of 16, Borussia Dortmund can do really well, especially at home in Matchday 11. So it's a short-term punt, something to separate myself from the crowd. That's why I've got 4 Dortmund. But I think if I was aiming for something longer term, I'd only have 2, maybe 3 at a push, but definitely not 4. Szczesny and Emi for goalkeeper. Not too sure about that. I think Aston Villa and Barcelona aren't the best of defences. I think ultimately you're looking at Inter Milan, Arsenal. I think Borussia Dortmund for the round of 16. I think they're better defences, but Szczesny's a good long-term option. Emi Martinez, not so much. I think that's maybe 1 clean sheet in there at Villa Park against Club Brugge, but I think they can see today. That's my prediction. Yeah, Wasting, you asked me this earlier. My answer would be yes, but Arsenal are in great shape. Pavlidis over Guirassy, not for me. And Guirassy plays on the Tuesday, and I think he's a better option with a more appealing fixture. Guirassy, Griezmann or Kane? Guirassy. No Aston Villa? Not right now. If I were to go for one player, it'd be in the midfield, and Rodgers will be the most likely one. Yep, no Bayern defensive coverage, you can't have them all. Koundé, good option? Yes. But Barcelona aren't the greatest defensively. Bastoni in for Van Dijk, even with just Salah as the other Liverpool asset. That's something I'm considering myself, Mr. Alex. And I can always wildcard more Liverpool players in later, especially for the round of, or should I say, the quarterfinals against Club Brugge or Aston Villa. That's where I'd want 3, 4, maybe 5 Liverpool players because the quota does increase in terms of players per club. So, yeah, interesting times ahead, I have to say that. So that's something I need to weigh up myself. Yeah, that's been covered. Valverde, he should start, but at right back, not too convinced about him UCL fantasy-wise. Guirassy or Mbappe, who would you rather get? Possibly Guirassy, just because he's cheaper. And I might end up captaining him myself, to be fair. With Mbappe, he's got a tougher fixture. He did score against Atletico only a few weeks ago, but yeah, that's going to be close. Emmanuel says, Hola Dylan, ¿escogerías a Kobel y Neuer? ¿Qué otra opción del Bayern escogerías en vez de Olise? Y quizás Musiala, pero en el medio campo hasta Kimmich tenía un problema, pero para mí va a estar disponible. Con los defensores está Kim Min-jae y Upamecano. Harry Kane siempre es una buena opción, pero si Kobel y Neuer no estoy convencido, porque yo dije antes en inglés que con Kobel está muy bien para estos partidos contra Lille, pero si Dortmund gana, van a jugar contra Barcelona o Benfica, y probablemente va a ser Barcelona. Y en ese caso también tienes a Neuer, que no es una garantía que va a ganar Bayern Múnich contra Bayer Leverkusen, y después sería Inter Milán, probablemente. Así que yo creo que hay mejores opciones para tu arquero, especialmente en el miércoles. Quizás puedes ir por Szczesny o también Alisson Becker de Liverpool, pero mucho depende de tus predicciones también. Jukla and Koundé, yeah, fine options. Jukla offers a nice differential on the Tuesday. He's in great form. I think he's got 4 goals in the last 5 games and 1 assist. Koundé's decent for ball recoveries, but I'm not that keen on Barcelona defensively. That's more of a long-term thing because I think they reached the semi-finals. But in terms of clean sheets, I don't see many, and I could be wrong about that. Yeah, 8 Tuesday, 7 Wednesday is something I usually have, and it's the ideal balance, you could say. Maybe 9 Tuesday, 6 Wednesday as well. But don't think too much about it. Just be mindful about it and, have it in mind. Don't base all your decisions off that alone, but that is a decent balance for sure. Yeah, Adeyemi camping is fine. Rios, as covered before. Adster says, hope you're doing good, Dylan. Would you go for Balde or Koundé? Koundé. Van Dijk or Grimaldo? I think Grimaldo. ¿Recomiendas a Lautaro? Sí, me gusta mucho Lautaro, pero en mi caso, yo prefiero Lewandowski cuando ves los delanteros del miércoles. Y para vender a Gracia o Vinicius, o en mi caso Mbappé, para Lautaro, sería uno menos del martes y uno más para el miércoles. Y prefiero tener más de un equilibrio entre ambos días. Pero sí, está bien Lautaro Martínez. Me gusta mucho. Feyenoord está en una mala posición con 15 jugadores que no están disponibles. Yamal in the knockout, trust me, World ain't ready. You might be right, but I think there are better options elsewhere. Yeah, I think 6 Tuesday, 8 Wednesday. How does that work? I mean, there's probably one other player unaccounted for because it's a 50-man squad, but yeah, that's fine. It's not the best structure, but if you're happy with the picks, I think that's not too shabby. Best replacement for Nuno Mendes, I don't know who you have already, Omara, but I'd recommend Inter Milan defenders like Dumfries and Bastoni. De Vrij is still good if you back him to start. Gabriel, Schlotterbeck, Grimaldo. I think Van Dijk, they're all good choices. Lautaro over Lewandowski, if not why. He scored a brace against Benfica in late January. Lewandowski's also a better goal scorer than Lautaro Martinez. His record in the Champions League is incredible. There's a lot of reasons why, but I just prefer Lewandowski. I also think Barcelona are a better attacking team than Inter Milan. Any more Tuesday players' thoughts? Yeah, this is going to be a big kind of debate about this, and I get it. But in terms of Tuesday players, don't overdo it. You don't need to have 8 Tuesday necessarily, even though usually I'd say that's ideal. If you have 6 or 7 on the Tuesday, I think that's fine, and you can get away with that. Para mí no, Gabriel. No me gusta mucho los delanteros de Arsenal o los mediocampistas. Están muy mal en este momento. 2 partidos seguidos que no hacen un gol. Y Saka, Havertz, Martinelli están lesionados, así que no me gusta mucho. Watkins for Lewandowski, I have 8 Wednesday. I'd still go for Lewandowski personally, but I get your thought. I think 7 Tuesday is fine. Yeah, Joao, I don't know what you want me to say about Valverde. I covered that already. He's going to play right back. Captain Adeyemi or Garassi. Garassi for me, but they're both good. Trent or Van Dijk? Van Dijk. I think in UCL Fantasy is slightly better. Van Dijk or Saliba? Slight preference for Van Dijk. The best Inter Milan mid is Çalhanoğlu. So yeah, just bear in mind from this point onwards, I'm going to cover new questions and stuff because some of these I've covered already and highlighted the same people and questions before. Çalhanoğlu or Yamal? Çalhanoğlu. Close one though. Yamal's still good. Yamal or Rodgers? I'd favour Rodgers, especially with the Tuesday balance being brought into account. Ola Dylan, Mbappe in for Lewandowski or Julian. For Julian. I wouldn't sell Lewandowski. Konsa or Rudiger? Rudiger. Josep Martinez or Szczesny? I would have said Josep Martinez, but with Sommer in the squad, I'm not as convinced about that now. Raya, Kobel or Martinez for keeper for tonight? Kobel. Dortmund, Garassi? Yeah, great option. Why don't you have Kane? Because you can't have them all, mate. I've literally got Garassi, Mbappe and Lewandowski. There's no Alvarez, who's in great form. There's no Vinicius. You just can't have them all in 3 forward slots. You've got to pick 3 and hope for the best. Hakimi or Gabriel? I prefer Gabriel, but Hakimi is a great choice. ¿Algún defensor mejor que Gabriel? Bueno, quizás habrá uno, como Bastoni, De Vrij, Hakimi. Hay bastante, pero depende de tu opinión. Yo tengo Gabriel porque para mí es una buena opción. Puede anotar goles. Arsenal, a pesar de sus problemas, tiene una muy buena defensa, así que yo tengo Gabriel en este momento. Should I have Kane and Lewandowski and Rodrigo or Lewandowski, Mbappe and Garassi? I'd go for the latter. That's what I've got, so I wouldn't recommend something else, but it's completely up to you. What's happening with Elise, though? I'm not sure what's happening to him, to be honest, but he's in great form, and I think he's a decent option. He's on my bench, and I'm fairly happy to keep him there for now. Keeper for tomorrow? If you don't want to risk Josep Martinez or Sommer, then I would recommend either Alisson or Szczesny, especially in the long term. Good to see you, Jakob. Hi, Dylan, hope you're well. Thoughts about Bastoni getting subbed before the 60th minute? Also, well done on the 1.8k viewers. Yeah, UCL Fantasy streams are always very fun and very active. Thank you for tuning in. Bastoni typically plays 90 minutes, though. I'm not too concerned about him in terms of, is he going to play 60 against Feyenoord? I think he will. So, yeah, he's the safest Inter Milan defender right now for me. Mikel Merino, if you want to take a punt, go ahead, but I'm not a big fan, I'll be honest. I hope he scores a brace and does really well. Ollie Watkins, good option, but there are better choices in the forward line, especially on the Tuesday, like Garassi, Vinicius, and Mbappe. But Watkins will be next in line, in my opinion. Let me now make some transfers before I forget, because there's literally 40 minutes left until the deadline. And let's also put another poll out about goalkeepers. So, with Jan Sommer back in the squad, would you keep Josep Martinez or sell? Keep Josep Martinez, and then we'll put sell for Alisson, sell for Szczesny. Let's put Neuer as well. Lille ×2 today. Maybe. And that would be disastrous for my UCL Fantasy team. Who will you sub? My lowest scoring players for those yet to play. That's the way you want to go about the substitutions. But yeah, we have got a bit of variation with this poll. Keep Josep Martinez isn't doing too bad, but yeah, most people are saying to sell him. And Szczesny is the preference there, it seems. Micheli or Hakimi? I'd still go for Hakimi, but Micheli gives you a decent option on the Tuesday. I think Club Brugge could keep a clean sheet today. I really do. Captain Garassi, I'm considering it. Yeah, I've said that all along. Hey Dylan, good to see you today. Likewise, Hassan. I think I'm locked in. Hope you have a great game week, Dylan. Likewise, Sydney. I hope I can join you very soon, but I haven't locked in yet. Elige uno de Wanieri, Rogers, Talibi, or Talibi. Rogers. Sure that Sommer's playing. I didn't say Sommer is definitely playing, but he travelled. That's confirmed. Inter Milan have posted it. Different sources also advised us of it in advance. So, yeah, we'll wait and see. But that's why Josep Martinez might be offloaded for me. Haribo says, Pavlidis or Alvarez to gain rank. Do you have an opinion? I have Garassi and Lewandowski. I think for Matchday 11, I'd favour Pavlidis. He scored a hat-trick against Barcelona earlier this season, but Alvarez is in great form. I mean, both strikers are, to be fair. I just think Real Madrid away is still slightly tougher for an attacker than Barcelona at home would be. That's my opinion on it. I have Garassi and Lewandowski. Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, not to mention Mbappe, Vinicius. There's so many great forwards up there, you know, Harry Kane. You can't have them all. But my slight preference will be Pavlidis, I think. I might regret saying that, though. In your case, Szczesny, long-term with no chips, Alisson. Yeah, that is true. I've got the wild card, and that's why Szczesny might be pretty decent, to be fair. Even long-term, he's quite good, actually. But yeah, Alisson's the best long-term goalkeeper on paper. Dembele or Rodgers? Do you favour Dembele? I'm not going to lie. 4 Dortmund players? No, I'm not afraid of the next round because I've got the wild card. I've made that very clear across all my videos and in the stream. So it's kind of like a differential play. It's a way of separating myself from the rest. Maybe it goes tits up. Maybe it goes well. Elise or Wirtz? Elise for Matchday 11. ¿Crees que Wirtz anote gol? Es posible, pero tiene un gol y una asistencia en 11 partidos contra Bayern Múnich. Y en sus últimos 7 partidos tiene un gol. Así que no está en el mejor promedio, no está en su mejor momento, pero está... Es una buena opción, Wirtz. How long is Szczesny out for? Who said he's out? No one said he's out. Alvarez or Lautaro Martinez? I'd go for Lautaro this week. Elise or Asensio? Asensio is benched, so it would be Elise. Watkins and Marino or Lautaro and Rodgers? Lautaro and Rodgers. Yeah, that would be my preference there. Can I pick Ronald Araujo? You can. And I also think Inigo Martinez and I also think Koundé would be good options with Szczesny in goal. Yeah, no PSG in my squad right now, but if I were to bring one, it would be Dembele. Hakimi's another great choice, but yeah, I think Dembele is the most likely. So, ¿elegirías a Rashford? No, porque es un delantero. No para mí. Selfish Szczesny is winning with 36% of the vote. In second is between Selfa Alisson and then keep Joseph Martinez. Selfa Neuer is last, which is fair enough. But yeah, interesting times ahead. Is Alaba nailed for Madrid? Yeah, I think he should be now. He just came off the back of an injury, but the thing is actually, let me just correct myself. In the predicted lineup I showed you earlier, it was Asensio and Rudiger as centre-back. So Alaba won't start just yet. So yeah, the answer is no. Talaby or Rodgers? Close. I think Bruges could upset Aston Villa again, but I'd say Rodgers. Need defender for today. I have Schlotterbeck and Gabriel. Recommend one. Keepers are Arsenal and Barca. Yeah, so I wouldn't go for Saliba and triple up on Arsenal. I think that might be too much. So my recommendation would be maybe Emre Can. Yeah, and double up on Dortmund. That would be my advice. That is something to consider. I don't think I'd go for a Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid defender, I think. If you were to, then Rudiger's not bad, but not my favourite, to be fair. Emi Martinez and Wirtz or Raya and Adeyemi? Raya and Adeyemi for me. Musiala, good option, but no space for him in my team, I think. Elise is in better form as well. I've covered that in depth. Chan is not on penalties, it's Garassi, but Chan will be second in command. Yeah. Valverde for Rodgers. I prefer Rodgers. Dembele or Wirtz, that's something I need to decide myself. If not, I just go for a Tuesday option, but I have lent towards Wirtz all week. So that's something I need to still kind of finalise in the last 7 minutes we've got. Wednesday captain, Rafinha or Lewandowski are the best options. I've made that clear in all my videos. Van Dijk or Koundé. Van Dijk is my... I think he's my preference, but not by much. Elise or Wirtz and Grimaldo or Rudiger. It'd be Grimaldo and Elise, but of course they face each other. If you want to avoid that sort of clash, then you might want to go for Florian Wirtz and go all in on Bayer Leverkusen. I do think that Wirtz is better than Elise long term, but for the short term, I would probably suggest Elise. Yeah, it's because Szczesny wasn't registered in UCL Fantasy when Szczesny played in Matchday 8. So don't worry about that. He is eligible and he's available. Why Bastoni over De Vrij? There are some predicted lineups that don't have De Vrij in there, so just to be safe, it's up to you. So Alisson and Elise to Dembele. Yeah, but who would you sell Alisson to? I still prefer Elise over Dembele this week. Trossard or Rodgers? Trossard might surprise us, but I think Rodgers. Elise over Rodgers for me there. Yeah. Kobo and Alisson or Szczesny and Courtois? Long term, it'd be Szczesny and Courtois. Yeah. All right, well, it's time to lock in. I'm just going to have another scour of the internet and see if we've got an Inter Milan predicted lineup. That might help me. If I see Joseph Martinez starting, then I'd just keep him for now. Yep, we do have a predicted lineup. Okay, so yeah, De Vrij is apparently going to start. All right, so let's cover this very quickly. They typically get this spot on, by the way. I hope they've also got this right. So no Calhanoglu. They've got Joseph Martinez in goal, Pavard, De Vrij, Acerbi, Dumfries, Barella, Aslani, Zielinski, and Bastoni as a left wing back, Thuram and Lautaro Martinez. Interesting stuff. Even with this, though, I might still sell Joseph Martinez and just go for De Vrij. Bastoni's also not too shabby. I could still go for one of them. But yeah, that is the Sky Sports Italia predicted lineup. They are usually absolutely accurate with these Inter Milan predictions. So let's now lock in my team, and I don't advise you to copy. Some people sometimes do it, and if it goes wrong, they then blame me. I just don't really get the logic. Pick your own team, back your gut, improve as UCL Fantasy player, take my opinions and stats and data as a guide, and you can use that to pick some players, but to copy everything, I don't think that's the best way to go about it. Ultimately, it's up to you. You have the free will. But yeah, Wirtz, Dembele is the most likely from the Wednesday players to come in here. And then from the Tuesday, I'm looking at Rodgers. I think a Bruges midfielder is not too shabby. And if I really want to go wild, I'll go for an Arsenal midfielder there. But yeah, I think I'm going to go for Florian Wirtz. It is quite template. I do get that. And here, let's see. Joseph Martinez. I do think he starts in Matchday 11, but not in Matchday 12. That will be my kind of prediction there. So yeah, hopefully you haven't missed any super chats. I'll go through that very quickly before finalizing my team. Yeah, there is one by Anish. Sorry about that. Is Gross a good option along with Adeyemi? Yes, he is. And Gross got 4 assists against Union Berlin in a 6-0 victory only last week. You can go for both of them at the same time, and that helps you with that Tuesday-Wednesday balance. But yeah, I think one's enough, especially if you've got Guirassy up front. I think tripling up on Dortmund offensively might be a little bit overkill. I think I'd rather triple up on Barcelona offensively, for example, pardon me. But yeah, if you don't have Guirassy up front, that could be a decent differential, and Gross can get ball recoveries, player of the match awards, and the odd assist, so very good option actually, but Adeyemi would be my preference. So yeah, drop a like, everyone. Let's get this stream to over 400 likes. We're very close to that. Maybe 500 if we can push towards that. That'd be fantastic. Thank you to all super chatters, patrons, members. I'll shout you out very soon, and also give 5 memberships once the deadline has closed. Pretty much most of your questions have been answered, maybe even all of them. So yeah, hopefully you are well prepared now. But I've got to lock in my bloody team, otherwise we are, yeah, in trouble. Big trouble. So let's get this in. I think Wirtz on the Wednesday. Yeah, that might be what I end up going for. Joseph Martinez, nice differential. Yay. Yeah, so we literally got less than 2 minutes, so time to lock in. Bastoni, De Vrij. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for De Vrij here. And then I think I'm going to go for Szczesny. Szczesny? I mean, I've got the wild card for the next round anyway. It's not a big deal. Yeah, but all right. But now I'm going to go for Alisson. So that will be my team. 1.3 million in the bank. Let's make sure that everyone's in my... So yeah, I've got all the Wednesday players there. It does mean only 6 Tuesday players, and 4 of them are from Dortmund. I'm not a big fan of that. Mbappe captain. Might switch to Guirassy. I'll put Guirassy here, captain. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, I think that's fairly decent, actually. I'm quite happy with that. So just, we've only got a few seconds left. So yeah, Guirassy captain. this is what you want to do now in the remaining seconds we've got until the deadline. Make sure that your Tuesday players are in your starting 11. Captain a Tuesday player. My favourites are Guirassy and Mbappe. I'm going to go for Guirassy, I think, as a bit more of a differential. I mean, his ownership is quite high, but it's lower than Mbappe's, and as a captaincy option, I think Guirassy might be more of a differential play in general. So, yeah, Kobel in goal, Dumfries, Gabriel, Schlotterbeck, Adeyemi, Rafinha, Wirtz, Salah, Guirassy, Mbappe, Lewandowski. I've got Alisson, Elise, Grimaldo, and De Vrij. They're on my bench. Guirassy captain, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we've got no more time anyway. So that is pretty much what I've gone for. So hopefully that doesn't result in 15-20 point swing against me like it did in match day 9. That was really disappointing. And that meant a very disappointing and underwhelming knockout playoff round. We got another super chat in the building. I hope it didn't come in. Okay, fair enough. It's not a question. I dreamt about a Michele Hall. We will be there. All the best, mate. I hope it goes well for you. And sometimes dreams do come true. So, yeah. I think Michele is my favourite Club Brugge defender. And for matchday 11, I do prefer Michele over Aston Villa options, to be quite honest with you. Over both legs, I still think Villa might go through. But for matchday 11 only, that looks pretty decent. Rodgers or Elise? I mean, I've been quite consistent all week about Elise, so that's my answer. I don't know why you're asking about Elise starting or not and spamming, but you should start, yeah. Elise is on all the predicted lineups, unless something came through in the last few minutes about him being injured or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, I've explained this a lot, mate, about 4 Borussia Dortmund players. I'd rather not go into it again, but basically I've got the wild card, so I want to go different. Good luck as well, Mikhailo. All the best to you. Good luck, Christian. Good luck also to Mikios, 20. Ryan as well. Vinicius Jr. captain. I think someone else said earlier he's never scored against Atletico, but this could be the time. This could be the time. 8 players from tomorrow. Yeah, that's not too bad. If you've got 7 Tuesday, that's decent. In my case, I've got 6 Tuesday, which, it's not the end of the world, but you'd rather have 1 or 2 more at least. But I'm happy with the picks. That's the most important thing. Change to Lautaro last minute. Yeah, look, Lautaro's a good option. He is. He really is. Let me just make this a bit higher. Let's also go to Predict 6 and see what else we can cover. So Borussia Dortmund 2, Lille 0 is my current selection. I might go for a 2-1. PSV 1, Arsenal 0. I hope that's not true. Real Madrid 2, Atletico Madrid 1. Benfica 2, Barcelona 3. Bayern Munich 2, Bayer Leverkusen 1. PSG 1, Liverpool 2. We'll see how that goes. I might go to a PSG draw or win, but I ultimately think Liverpool advance to the next round. Should I give Arsenal a goal? Let's give Arsenal a goal. Let's put 1-1 right now. We'll see how that ages. And this morning I did create graphics for the upcoming FPL videos, so stay tuned for that. I'll give my predictions for Game Week 28, best captaincy options, the highlighted player, and the heat map versus team weakness. And a lot more is headed your way. The team selection, of course, where we've had so many injury problems, and yeah, I'll be talking about my updated plans. Let me know in the live chat right now if you want to see a reaction stream for Fantasy Premier League. I wanted to do it last week, I think on Wednesday or Thursday, but I just wasn't able to. And on the Sunday as well, that was another time I wanted to. But yeah, a lot of content has been published anyway. Maybe tomorrow or on Thursday, I can do a quick reaction stream. And we can also talk about our initial thoughts for Game Week 28. And then, of course, on Saturday, another deadline stream for Fantasy Premier League. So with this poll, I'm sure this has changed now with Asensio being benched. So yeah, Wirtz did win this poll with 46%, Asensio second, Rodgers third, but I did put something similar in my poll in the stream, and Dembele was the winner over Florian Wirtz. So yeah, with all these pieces of news and stuff, it's been covered towards the beginning of the stream. Feel free to rewind to see the likely starters and stuff like that, but yeah, Lina or Gallagher is one of the biggest dilemmas for Diego Simeone tonight. And don't be surprised if Real Madrid post their lineup now or in the next half an hour, basically, whilst we're still live. And this is their, or Atletico Madrid's expected 11, which I did also cover earlier. But let's leave that to one side for now. If you haven't already joined my UCL Fantasy League, the code is cCaFxb, and the code has also been on the left-hand corner of your screen throughout most of this video. But the easiest way to join is clicking that link in the description. Check out my X, Instagram, on also my Spotify, Blue Sky, the Discord server, UCL Fantasy League, and my patron. Thank you to those that have signed up today. And I'll be gifting 5 more memberships in just a few moments. So this is how my team was like before with Asensio. And Aston Villa scored already, by the way, so I'm sure people have said that already. Bailey with the goal and Tyrone Mings with the assist. So no Ollie Watkins, Rashford, Tielemans, who are probably my favourite Aston Villa assets for today and also across both legs. But Bailey with an unlikely goal. He hasn't really been at it this season, but that's a crucial goal there for the Villains. And definitely an improvement from what they did last time out in the 1-0 loss against Club Brugge. So we've got a goal. We always get an early goal when it comes to UCL Fantasy. So let's see, is that? Let's scroll down a little bit. There we go. OCD, perfectionist, you tell me. Yeah, you got the opinions. Let's also end this poll. I'm pretty sure Szczesny won it, but I ended up going for Alisson. So yes, end that poll. And yeah, thank you to those that are still here. Drop a like if you haven't already. I do appreciate those that have supported the channel. And as a bit of a thank you, let us gift 5 more memberships. Yes, lad. Let's do that. Just give me a second, and I will be gifting 5 more. So yeah, by staying here, you've got a good chance of winning a free membership for a month. Okay. All right, so congratulations to Christian Delgadillo, I think it is, Zaki, Jakub, Alga, and Papa Pouts. Some great names in there, and enjoy. So those are the 10 memberships gifted for the month, and hopefully you use it well, as they say. And I'm also going to shout out very quickly, before going back to your recent comments and questions, the patrons and members overall. So let's refresh this since we've got some new members in the house. So big up to Zaki, Bestie, Arda, Merich, Natalie S, Primsy, Anish, Papa Palps, and I just lost the list like an absolute moron. Baraf, Jakub, a Juventus fan, is that? Oh, interesting. So to Def as well, Algot Tersing, Christian Delgadillo, Rishi, Aman, Dandada. I'm guessing that's a Dandadan fan, if that's how you say it, the anime. For some reason, my list is bugging out when I'm trying to read out the names, so apologies. I'm wrestling with my own technology. Ben Stewart. Oh my god, this is annoying. So Ben Stewart, yeah. Unruly DMV, SOCLH, OK, Richard Milichip, Ventislav, Dombrew 1, Gopal, Ahmed. I don't know what's happening with this list. It literally keeps scrolling up when I'm reading out new names. So bear with me for a second. Oh my god. Exotic Log, Miguel Mario 8, Gabriel R, Simon Spears, Jazabi, Ulysses United. Oh my god, this is the worst experience I've had with YouTube ever. I'm not sure why I keep scrolling up. John G, Gabriel Fernandez, Alex Leadham, George Popescu, That Air, Keith. And yeah, that's all, well, most of them read out. There's also Aldo Victoria, Lorenzo Gabriel Simeon, Notre Dame, Daniel Zaremba, Stephen Reed, Dora Masumi, Matt Steen, Nico Patel, Alex Orloff, Luis Alexander Perella, Rodrigo Urias, and Federico Caliso. A massive shout out to all of you for supporting the channel. And eventually we got there, but YouTube was literally wrestling with me. I don't know what was happening. Good luck, Mikios 20 as well. Lautaro for Lewandowski last second. Wow. All the best with that. I do like Lautaro as a punt. I really do. I just prefer Lewandowski. That's why I don't have him. And I didn't want to remove another Tuesday option. I've already got plenty on the Wednesday, to say the least. So yeah, Aston Villa have scored early, but I don't think many of us, if any, in the live chat still here have got Mings or Leon Bailey. Opinion about Flamingo? Yeah, if you want a PSV defender, that could be fairly decent. The same goes for Boscagli. It's just, I don't know. I don't like backing against Arsenal. I have to say, though, if Arsenal were to go through to the next round and face Real Madrid or Atletico, I'd probably go all in on those teams, to be quite honest with you. just being a realist. But when it's PSV, and I still think Arsenal can go through, it's a bit different. But yeah, he's not a bad shout. He's got 43 points. He got 11 against Juventus. He scored a goal. Got 11 ball recoveries on that day. He's a decent option. I feel bad for those who get the Club Brugge goalkeeper. Well, someone mentioned it in a super chat, and I think they talked about replacing Summer, but I did say I wouldn't do that because you had Kobel. You don't want to have two Tuesday goalkeepers, so thankfully he got rid of him. Hey Dylan, I still have both my wildcard and Limitless. When do you reckon I should use them? So yeah, as mentioned before, I would use the wildcard in matchday 13 or 15, so the first leg of the quarterfinals or the semi-finals, depending on several situations like injury, suspensions, form, and other factors. With the Limitless chip, I would use it in matchday 12, so the second leg of the round of 16, basically next week. That's when I'd recommend it. Went for Rodgers. Good luck, Petros. Hopefully you can do something. Yes, John, gifts. Hopefully you can get one fairly soon. It is completely random. I don't pick, actually, I promise. Good luck as well, Ivan Hernandez. Show your bracket. I haven't done my bracket, to be fair. I haven't done my bracket. Maybe I'll open that now. Let's see. Let's go to Predict 6 very quickly. Oh, wait, maybe it's too late now. Yeah, it's too late, isn't it? Yeah, because Aston Villa and Club Brugge have started. So I can't do that now. Well, I can, but I'm not sure if I get the points for it. Oh, well. Anyway, yeah, let's see. Maybe you're going to call me deluded. Let's back Arsenal to win the whole thing. No, I won't. I'm a realist, I promise. All right, so Arsenal to go through, yeah. Real Madrid. Atletico are a good team, though, I have to say. Very good team. Liverpool. Aston Villa. Cheeky. I was going to put them anyway, I promise. And Club Brugge could still score. Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund. This is close, but I'm going to lean towards Bayern Munich. And I've got 2 Leverkusen, 1 Bayern, which might seem a bit silly, but that's actually a tricky one. Yeah, Bayern Munich, Leverkusen. I actually might go for Leverkusen here, but I'll stick with Bayern. Inter Milan, yeah, voice crack. Then, yeah, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Barcelona. I think Inter would go through here. And then I would go for Real Madrid. Let's go for an El Clasico final. And then who wins? I don't know. That's just my quick bracket. Let's put Real Madrid to win again. Your bracket has been saved. But yeah, I'm guessing I don't get the points for the Villa game. But I might change the winner. I might change it. So yeah, that is my quick bracket. These are my predictions. So Dortmund 2, Lille 0. PSV 1, Arsenal 1. I did previously have 1-0 PSV. Real Madrid 2, Atletico Madrid 1. Benfica 2, Barcelona 3. I might change the booster to another game. Bayern Munich 2, Leverkusen 1. And then Paris Saint-Germain 1, Liverpool 2. Interesting indeed. So let's close these. All right, and let's also go back to my UCL Fantasy team, which I believe is this one. Or this one? Oh, yeah, Club Brugge have scored. We've got some early goals, yes, sirree. So for anyone with Emi Martinez in goal or a defender, yeah, not great. So the Kuiper scored and Zolis got the assist. So basically no one's got points right now. That is the be-all and end-all. Unless there's a cheeky mofo out there. No offense. Enjoy your work, Dylan. Good luck going forward. Thank you, John. Very nice of you, and all the best. Annoyed to say Vert's pen tomorrow. Why would you say that? Why? Michele fail. Oh well. Easy swap for a Wednesday bench player, I guess. He could still get ball recoveries, though. If I'm not mistaken, he's actually very good for ball recoveries. He's got 45 for the season. Points, that is. And ball recoveries, 67. I think he can still give you 3-4 points, which isn't too shabby. Jakob says, I'm a Bayern fan. The PFP is just for my name. Okay, yeah. It's not exactly like the Juventus one. It's just similar. Okay, fair enough. Bayern fan in the house. Do you think you'll beat Bayer Leverkusen? I've seen some pessimism from some Bayern fans. And also some weird opinions or conflicting opinions about Joshua Kimmich, who is linked to Arsenal. I don't think he's going to come to us, by the way, but I'd take him. Very good player. Bye-bye Bruce, says Harry. Hold your horses, lad. Hold your horses. It's a night game. It's yeah. And also got the second leg. I did not get the membership and I choose Flamingo. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't have any say. I just click the button and then I think YouTube say that people who are active in the chat and stuff like that have a chance of winning it, but so many people were active in the chat, so it's difficult to get one. No way. Thank you, Dylan. No worries, Jakob. Some of Papa Palps. Obviously, these are very late messages. I get that. Wasting says not this time. To be fair, you're probably top of the leaderboard. I think you've won it 4 or 5 times. Maybe 3. Samir says, good luck, guys. Likewise, same with Joao Silva. Always good to see you. Christian Delgadillo, enjoy the membership. Is it Delgadillo? I think it is. I never win. One day you will. Lau says, so close. Yeah, hopefully you do next month. So this time next month, just in time for my birthday, which is going to be amazing. Yeah, you can get a membership. Easy says, Paul Cunha, Isak, Mateta, Hall, Gordon owners. At least I have Hall to sell. That already been in my transfer out before he's injured. Yeah, FPL is just an absolute nightmare. But Isak is no longer flagged. I know you're subbed off with an injury against Brighton in the FA Cup, but it wasn't too serious. He could walk off the pitch. I think Isak will be available. Mateta ruled out basically for a few weeks, maybe until the end of the month by Oliver Glasner. That was covered in my Transfer Tips podcast on Sunday. But yeah, Anthony Gordon, ridiculous red card. Similar Matez Cunha, both of them very stupid. And yeah, more suspensions and injuries to worry about. Cheers, everyone, and cheers to you, Nihal. Guy, my mini league has double Bruges defense. Oof. Can get some ball recoveries, but not looking too good right now. Jakub, okay, so that's going to be in a different language. I can't speak that, I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe one day. Crazy cool, Dortmund are losing. I don't think they'll lose. Not the first leg, anyway. They're in pretty good form, let's not forget that. They beat Union Berlin 6-0 and St. Pauli 2-0. They also beat Sporting 3-0 in aggregate, 2 clean sheets. I don't think they're any mugs. One of my mistakes in the knockout playoff rounds was not going for any Dortmund defence. Maybe I've gone a bit overkill here, but we'll wait and see. I also wanted more Tuesday players, or at least an extra Tuesday player, which is one of my issues. Twisted Parky says, my team, Martinez, Alisson, Trent, Dumfries, Gabriel, Otamendi, Rogers, Salah, Wirtz, Musiala, Rafinha, Vinny, Pavardis, and Martinez's. Today's captain, Vinny. So you've got 2 Martinez's for the goalkeepers. That's not going to cause any confusion. So yeah, you'll probably make a goalkeeper sub tomorrow unless Jan Sommer starts. I'm feeling a bit awkward about Alisson, to be fair. I would rather have Van Dijk, to be honest, but I've made my bed. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, De Vrij, if he's not starting tomorrow, I'm going to have to sue Sky Sports Italia. I'm joking. Feel like it's difficult for teams to be too different from each other. Mine is Raya, Szczesny, Gabriel, Dumfries, Chan, De Vrij, Grimaldo, Dembele, Salah, Rafinha, Adeyemi, Elise, Salah, Lewandowski, Guirassy. Yeah, I agree. I just think the group stages is always when you've got a lot of variety. Then, as you progress, you've got a bit less. There's more of a template. But even if you compare your team to mine, for example, we've got different goalkeepers. That's 2 changes. You've got Chan. Yes, I've got Schlotterbeck is similar, but not the exact same. You've also got Dembele. I've got Florian Wirtz. So that's 5 changes, basically. So, yeah, even that can play quite a big part. You know, for example, I went for, I wish I went for Gatti. I went for Di Gregorio to cover Juventus in the knockout playoff rounds instead of Gatti, and that cost me 9 points in match day 9. It is what it is. Part of me feels that PSG can get a win, but only in the first leg. I agree. I think PSG could win the first leg, maybe draw, but I think Liverpool at Anfield will get a win by 2 goals maybe, and they'll go through. Transit Tube says, locked in team, Courtois, Szczesny, Rudiger, Gabriel, Schlotterbeck, Kim Min-jae, De Vrij, Adeyemi, Rafinha, Salah, Rogers, Wirtz, Guirassy, Mbappe, Lewandowski, 8-7 split, and no chips remaining. Yeah, that's good, and the fact you've got no wild card in your back pocket, you've picked one of the best goalkeeper combinations, in my opinion, and you've got a solid platform. My only kind of doubt, I'd say, is you've got a double up in Madrid defensively. That might be a decent play if you look at future match days, if Madrid go as far as we expect, but I don't trust them defensively that much. So I think Courtois would have been enough, but that's a nitpick, and we'll see how Rogers gets on for the remainder of today's game. Watch it happen. Okay, let's not do that. Let's do positive manifestation. So basically, Borussia Dortmund 2-0 win. What does RCM mean? It's just my initials, basically. And you could just say right central midfielder, maybe. Yeah, not my position. I was more of a goalkeeper. Just the Parky says, I wanted to transfer out Otamendi, Musiala, and revisit the forward line, but not enough time. Too many players for tomorrow as well. Yeah, Otamendi's a good option in isolation, but against Barcelona, especially without Florentino Luis, I really wouldn't recommend it. Musiala could be a good pick, though, and he might end up being one of those trolls for me in UCL Fantasy where he never does anything in my team and always gets a big return when he's not there. When with Bastoni, he gets subbed off a lot. I don't think that'll be an issue in UCL Fantasy, but I get your concern. So yeah, a lot of times near the 60th minute, hoping I don't get the dreaded 59th minute sub for the third time in UCL Fantasy. Who are the other players you had that happen to? I have Inter reaching the semis. Same here. Yeah, I've gone for them to reach the semis. Off topic, but do you watch any anime, Dylan? Yeah, I watched the final chapters of Attack on Titan in cinema. I've already watched it back in November, so I'm quite a late viewer. And basically that show has got me into anime. I watched Death Note shortly afterwards, then Chainsaw Man, then Cowboy Bebop, I think. I also watched Cyberpunk Edge Runners, although that's kind of a different sort of anime, you could say. And I'm now watching Monster, which is a very, very good show. Would you rather lose round of 16 or go to the quarterfinal, potentially get smashed by Madrid team? I'd rather just go further forward. And I mean, I get it. It's a good question, but I'm always going to say to progress further. But ultimately, Arsenal finishing in the round of, the quarterfinals, let's say, finishing second, is, if anything, it's regression or stagnation from last season. But there are some explanations and reasons for it, especially with the injuries. But Arsenal can really blame no one else but themselves for the recent transfer windows, which I'd rather not get into again, but I think we all know. Yeah, Bruges just scored as soon as you said Bruges can still score. I promise I didn't see it. Like, yeah, I just... you can't speak too soon. It's an early goals, right? Things can change so quickly. But I still think Villa go through. I've said this all along. Bruges could win or draw the first game, but I'd still expect Villa to go through. I have a Liverpool-Benfica final in my bracket. Benfica? Wow. Good luck. The Kuiper goal. Does anyone have the Kuiper? Or anyone who scored points so far? Let me know in the live chat. Emi Martinez, yeah, great goalkeeper in my opinion, but more so on the international stage. He has been good in the Champions League this season, but there are better options, and that's why I've never really recommended Aston Villa defensively. Yeah, look, maybe it's just the Parky's cooking. Maybe he is. What do you think about the Inter Milan keeper tomorrow? I wanted to go for Josep Martinez, and I think he will start. But even if that's the case, my prediction is for Sommer to return to the 11 in Matchday 12. So I'd rather avoid that headache, and that's why I went for De Vrij as my second Inter Milan defender. So yeah, game on, says Doge. All right, Expert Chiba, are you a Lille fan by any chance? We go again next month, yes. And I know you said this like 10 minutes ago. I've got Bailey in all my fan teams. Good luck. Of course, there's a bit of cash prizes in store for you, maybe. I think we're poor defensively, so I'm a bit pessimistic in our chances in this round and beyond. Even if we beat Leverkusen, we drew against them recently, so we'll see. Yeah, your record against Leverkusen recently is very even, and this is a first in the Champions League. But yeah, I think Inter Milan have probably the best chance from that kind of side of the draw to reach the semi-finals. Don't trust Hal, says John. Yeah, I don't trust him either, but to be fair to him, he was quite optimistic. He was quite honest and open about Isak going into the Brighton game. As a Dortmund fan, Lille will win today. Wow, a Dortmund fan. Okay. Have you seen my team? What a joke, says Wei Seng. I haven't seen it. I don't think anyway. Just the Parky says, my predictions, Club Brugge 0, Aston Villa 2, Dortmund 1, Lille 2, PSV 1, Arsenal 0, might change to 1-1, which is what I've done. Real 1, Atletico 1, Feyenoord 0, Inter 1, Bayern 1, Leverkusen 1, Benfica 3, Barcelona 2, PSG 1, Liverpool 2. Yeah, I've got similar predictions across the board. I've just gone for 3-2 Barcelona. 2-1 Bayern, that could change. Yeah, Inter, I think I'd go for something similar, maybe 2-0. I like Kimmich and hope he stays, but I can see him going to Man City personally, or maybe Real, like you said. There are reports that he was offered to maybe Liverpool and Real Madrid, and they basically rejected him, but yeah, I just don't see him at Arsenal. I really don't. Hopefully I'm wrong. I had issues, so I have Nuno Mendes and Barcola, but I went my gut. Captain Mbappe, lots of people will be captaining Adeyemi and Guirassy. Well, I had Mbappe most of the week, and I always said Guirassy could be my kind of like final change for the armband, but I'm not too bothered about the Tuesday captaincy because I've got Rafinha or Lewandowski tomorrow. At least 6 or 8 teams to blank in 34. Yes, I've got a graphic prepared for Blank Gimmick 34, so that will make it very clear to all viewers. I'll cover that in tomorrow's wildcard video. Martinez forward, and I have Martinez keeper and Alisson. Oh, right. I thought you also had... Yeah, okay, I read it wrong then. Who do you think will be the top scorer? I think it would be Rafinha or Lewandowski. Oh, Lewandowski for me, yeah. But Rafinha is my favourite for captaincy because of assists and the midfield position. Jonathan David will score today. Yeah, maybe. He's a good player. I hope he doesn't. Fair enough. Makes complete sense. Good luck, Dylan. Likewise, the Frostbite. Well, Feyenoord versus Inter have early kickoff tomorrow. I have some on my bench. Now I have Martinez. Yeah, that's the good thing about it, to be fair. And in my case with De Vrij, just in case he doesn't start. El Parcero del Fantasy says, ended up having the following team. Kobel, Szczesny, Van Dijk, Dumfries, Gabriel, Schlotterbeck, Grimaldo, Rafinha, Rodgers, Wirtz, Olise, Salah, Guirassy, Mbappe, and Lewandowski. Very good team. The only criticism I'd have, the only one, is for the quarterfinals. If Dortmund and Barcelona go through, they will face each other, and that's where you need to make a goalkeeper transfer, but you've got a lot of available moves to rectify it. I recommend solo leveling, Fire Anime. I've heard good things about it from a lot of people, so that's on my list. I've got an extensive list for shows, films, and anime, so yeah, that will be watched at some point. Lille is the true underdog of this UCL. They've been very good, don't get me wrong, but I think Dortmund will beat them. Please like, friends. Thank you, John. Very much appreciated. Have Zolis and Jukla. Wow, fair play. Well, Zolis with the early assist, so we've got someone in here with some points. Someone in my league has the Kuiper. Wow. Well, good start for him, but there is still a long way to go. Bruno Silva says, the other players I had it happen to me, 59th minute sub, were Timber and I think Eder Militao in one of the first game weeks. I also had Di Gregorio getting a red card at the 59th minute. Ah, so did I. I hate that guy, by the way. People are saying, what do you mean? He's done really well, but I think Di Gregorio's got like 1 clean sheet while in my team. The other times he was on my bench, basically, because I also had Blazwich, so then I bought Alisson, and by doing that, Di Gregorio just steps up, gets clean sheets against Man City and all this jazz, and when I start him again for the knockout playoff rounds, he does absolutely nothing, so I can relate on that latter part. With the 59th minute subs, I don't think that's happened to me yet, and long may that continue. I thought about Bailey for 0.5 seconds, but when I saw the lineups, said, nah, it's Bailey. Oh, wow. Okay, fair enough. I'm still not too keen on Bailey, even for Matchday 12, by the way. His goals and assist record this season hasn't been impressive whatsoever. I have doubled up on Arsenal, Inter, and Dortmund. I like that. Yeah. I think with Arsenal, if it's a defensive double up, then I'm definitely on board. Not a big fan of their midfielders and forwards, but maybe today's the day they prove me wrong. Good day, Dylan. Limitless, Matchday 12 or later. Yeah, as mentioned a few minutes ago, and yeah, I think I've talked about this a few times across my videos. Yeah, Limitless Matchday 12, wildcard in Matchday 13 or 15, for those that have the chips left. My points were Wanyeri, Vinicius, and Adeyemi. On punts, I'm guessing that is. I think Vinicius is still a great option. Adeyemi, he scored at the weekend. He's got a 23-point haul in this season's Champions League. And Wanyeri is so talented for his age. I love watching him, but unfortunately he's over-relied on by Arsenal. But yeah, I hope those punts go well for you, and I could see at least one of them doing the business. JP says, I'm at 3k rank, but I missed changing Kane to Mbappe captain last game week. Was at work and completely forgot. It hurts watching Mbappe smashing it. Oof. Yeah, that must hurt, especially at your rank, because you could maybe be at top 1k or higher, but of course, it's better not to think about it. It's done. And of course, with other commitments, it's difficult to sometimes just be completely like in control of your UCL Fantasy team and constantly micromanaging everything. Harry says, just getting into anime myself. One Punch Man, Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, watched so far, and lots of Ghibli movies. I think that is, apologies if I mispronounced. Yeah, I did see a trailer for a Demon Slayer project in the cinema, and it looked quite interesting. All of those are on my list. All of them. Jakob says, thank you for the membership, Dylan. Hope everything is good with you, and good luck with your team. See you in the next stream. Thank you, Jakob. If you play FPL, then, consider tuning into the next stream. There might be one tomorrow or on Thursday as a reaction stream, and for every deadline for FPL and UCL Fantasy, I will be here. There are other predictions in bracket, like best scorer. You can check it out. That must be new then. I'll have a look. Oamara says, my team is Mbappe, captain, Lewandowski, Garassi, Dembele, Elise, Barcola, Salah, Koundé, Bastoni, Schlotterbeck, Josep Martinez, Hakimi, Rafinha, and Nuno Mendes. Yeah, really good squad. My only concern is a double up in PSG defensively, especially with Salah in there, but could they all haul at the same time? It's possible, although unlikely. Hakimi is my favourite PSG defender for sure. Yeah, that's good, Petros, that's fine. It's crazy that in the EPL, number 2 to 10 teams can still go to UCL next year, since team number 3 to team number 10 is only separated by 6 points. Yeah, I do think the Premier League is weaker. That's my opinion this season. So you could say it's like more balanced, besides Liverpool, who are the only consistent team. But you look at last year, for example, you had like 3 top teams, at a similar level in Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, going at it for the title. Even Villa were better, and a lot of them. There's only a few examples where you could say, oh, Forest are better this year. That's definitely true, but yeah, I just think the Premier League is a bit weaker this season. Alberto says, do you think there should be an option of getting a couch to choose? It would be nice to see who made the correct changes and line up the best 11. Oh, wait, I'm guessing, is that for... Oh, right, I see what you're saying. I mean, yeah, there's always ways to improve UCL Fantasy, right? And I still think it's... there's some things in UCL Fantasy I like to see in FPL, but I just don't think that's going to be the case. Expert Chew puts his team, a Dortmund fan, by the way, with Mbappe captain, Lewandowski, Rodgers, Rafinha, Vitinha, Wirtz, Gabriel, Saliba, Grimaldo, Frimpong, Emi Martinez. Wow, no Dortmund players at all, so yeah, we'll see. Have Zolis, so points there for the assist. Nice, very nice differential. The only one on the Tuesday who has done something so far, really, apart from De Kuyper, Bailey, and Mings, but really it's just Zolis, who was ever even considered at some point by me, but I was not going to go for him. Oh my god, the Emi Martinez save. Kusi says, rate this: Kobel, Gabriel, Saliba, Asensio, Rafinha, Yamal, Salah, Adeyemi, Lewandowski, Garassi, Vinicius, Dumfries, Dembele, Frimpong, Neuer. I really like the team. I've seen a few people with double Arsenal defence. I hope it goes well for you. I'd be buzzing. But I'm not as convinced. I think PSV could win the first game. Den over both legs, yeah, Arsenal could keep a clean sheet at the Emirates, and that's their best chance of winning matches and advancing through in these competitions with their lackluster forward line. Asensio as a defender is interesting, and I also prefer Rafinha over Yamal, but you are maybe trying to go a bit different. I mean, you've got Rafinha, to be fair. Yeah, triple up in Barcelona attack is nice, it's viable. I don't really mind that too much, to be fair. Good squad. It's a good squad. I think Asensio might be the weakest pick, but with Real Madrid long-term, having a defender is not a bad shout. I just think Alaba could take his place in future rounds. If Garassi blanks, I'm captaining Salah tomorrow over Rafinha. Thoughts, as I want to climb rank, and I'm at 12k overall. Well, my preference is Rafinha and Lewandowski. I think that game will be very high scoring, but PSG-Liverpool could be a cracker. And I think that's a difficult game to call for the first leg at least. I'd be more confident in Liverpool at Anfield, but for this one, it could be up in the air. JP says Arsenal lost the league the moment Saka got hurt. They depend a lot on Saka's attacking potential. I agree. Once that happened, I couldn't even celebrate the 5-1 win over Crystal Palace. Time goes fast. It's already March and only 12 matches to go. Yeah, but still a lot of twists and turns left in FPL and in certain aspects of the Premier League table. If Garassi flops, who are you captain? Rafinha or Lewandowski, which I've said all week basically. But yeah, let's not be too negative about Borussia Dortmund. It's your team. Have a bit of faith. You're at home. Shown a bit of good form recently. Because the Parky says in FPL, Pickford, Trent, Robinson, Mikalenko, Salah, Mbeumo, Palmer, Kluivert, Dango, Watkins, Isak, Cunha, Howson, thinking Wood, Haaland and Elanga for a -4, or just Wissa and Wood for Cunha and Watkins in 29. But who would Elanga come in for the -4 hit? Would it be for Dango? At the moment, I would suggest, I do like the Haaland move for a -4 to be fair, but not if it means selling Palmer or Salah for a hit. So yeah, assuming that's the case, I would stick with the free transfers. And yeah, if there are any people who do watch FPL content, let me know if you want to see a reaction stream either tomorrow or on Thursday. Of course, I wanted to do it earlier, but it was quite difficult to get that done. If a -4 will have to be for Cunha, Watkins and Palmer. Yeah, as bad as Palmer's been recently, I don't think I'd take that hit. If Arsenal doesn't have a striker, Arteta doesn't believe in the youth striker and youth team, maybe you can do some experiments with youth players. Well, Arsenal haven't fumbled it, as you say. I mean, they didn't have a lead to really bottle. They did 2 years ago. Last year, I think they did very well at the end. They ended the season strongly. So I do disagree with you on that, but yeah, there's nothing to fight for in terms of the league. I don't care if Arsenal finish second, third, or fourth. Ultimately, you want to finish as high up as possible, but I want to win the Premier League. I want to win trophies. So yeah, putting some youngsters and stuff, I'm not against that. But Arsenal shouldn't be in this position. It's supposedly one of the biggest clubs in the world in terms of fan base revenue, trophies, and all of that. Arsenal should have an elite front line even when we've got injuries, and you know they've made up their bed. Well, I don't want to talk about that too much. I think people know my thoughts on it, and there's nothing really we can do about it. Is there any way to see the points other players are getting? Yeah, if you go to the league, you can click on other managers and see how they're doing. You can still do it despite the game seemingly being locked. I'm fairly sure you can do that. Yeah, maybe if you striker perform, they go to the first team next season. Yeah, but Arsenal won't do that. And Wanyeri and Lewis Skelly, let's not forget, they've played a lot of football. They're only 17. So yeah, I mean, youth has been promoted. That's one of the good things about this season, but I struggle to think of other positives for Arsenal. Hopefully they can have a few more positives tonight and in the Champions League, because that's their only chance of winning something. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you to those that have tuned in today. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and also hit that notification bell so you never miss a single upload or live stream. Our aim is to get this to as many likes as possible. Thank you to those that have done so already. And follow me on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky, DylanRCM. You can also find me by typing FPL Dylan. There's my Discord server, UCL Fantasy League, Spotify, and my Patreon, which is patreon.com/DylanRCM. And you can also become a member on YouTube by clicking the join button. So thank you to everyone, the Super Chatters, patrons, members. And ExpertTube says, how will the latter stages of fantasy work? Yeah, I'd recommend watching my How to Play UCL Fantasy Guide or even the chip strategy video from this season, because essentially it's the same as before and nothing's changed. We are in familiar territory. For the second leg in the round of 16, for match day 12, you get free transfers. And then for the first leg of each round, for the semi-finals, quarterfinals, and the final, you get 5 free transfers. This pattern repeats itself until the end of the competition. But getting subs is painful. I would be top 300 instead of top 900. Yeah, but you're still in a great rank. But yeah, every little helps, of course, and we always want to strive for better. It won't be this week. It would be Palmer out in 29. Yeah, I get that. I know that. But either way, despite facing Arsenal away, I'm not entirely sure if Palmer is a player I'd like to sell for a -4 hit, even with his current form. Or I could get Wood and get either Strand Larsen, Raul, Better, or Marmoush, or somebody else. I think this is my favourite, though, and I'll talk about this in my wildcard video tomorrow. The fixtures aren't great for Brentford, but Vissa is still the best option, I'd say. Aston Villa struggling. I'm not surprised. I mean, my prediction was for Bruges to draw or win today, but for Villa to go through. We'll see how it ends up going. Twister Parky says, I think also if I go Haaland, it reduces my doubles for 32. Yeah, I think that's also worth bearing in mind. Go to websites like FPL.team, visualize future game weeks, and see how this could impact your future moves. That's very important, and that's why I recommend it so often in my channel. So thank you to everyone for tuning in today in this very long live stream, over 3 hours, and keep your eyes peeled for FPL content. The best wildcard team should be out tomorrow, my team selection on Thursday, and then from Friday onwards, I'll be preparing UCL Fantasy content for match day 12, the second leg of the round of 16, and of course a deadline stream for FPL on Saturday, and much more is headed your way. And thank you to those that have supported the channel. I can't stress that enough. I'll see you very soon for more FPL and UCL Fantasy videos. And the next stream will be on Saturday, so that's when I'll see you next. Take care and enjoy the football.